welcome to Daily Bread. We're going to do the book of Jude, the book of Jude, and it's a very short book, but I like to complicate things. So while it's very, very short, it actually quotes the first book of Enoch. Because it's quoting the first book of Enoch, we're talking about the fallen angels, the angel rebellion. Because we're talking about the angel rebellion, then we're going to Genesis 6, where those angels mated with the daughters of men and formed angel-human hybrids known as the Nephilim. These Nephilim happen to be of great stature. And if we continue with the narrative of the first book of Enoch, it explains a lot more about Genesis 6. It explains that they corrupted as well all of the genetics of man, which made a necessity for the flood. And we have Noah that was chosen, not because he was perfect in his generation, meaning in his character, but because he was perfect in his genealogy. So we see that straight from the Garden of Eden, after the initial deception of Satan, we have a prophecy about her seed and the seed of the serpent. Sperm, that's seed means genetics, right? So the whole Bible is Eden lost and Eden restored. It's also about the mystery of the bride of Christ, but it's also all throughout the Old Testament about a genetic warfare. After the flood, we still have to deal with the Nephilim. They have pretty much populated the promised land, Canaan. And because of this, there's the conquest that God helps the Israelites to defeat Canaan. And we see all through it passages about giants. We see this when the two spies enter Canaan and return, say, we look like grasshoppers compared to the inhabitants there. And so let's just get into Jude and see where it leads us. Just share screening. One moment, I just want to change the template. There we go. So if you're just coming in, this is considered the Daily Bread. It's a very short book, the book of Jude, but there's a lot to be said about it. Okay, so Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and a brother of James. So Jude, first of all, his name is Judas, but it's put here as Jude so that there's no confusion between this Judas and Judas Iscariot. Jude is a half-brother to Jesus. So Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and a brother of James, to those who have been called, who are loved in God the Father and kept for Jesus Christ. Mercy, peace, and love be yours in abundance. So they're going to talk about, Jude is going to talk about the sin, about the doom of the ungodly. And if you look at my presentations on conditional immortality, you'll see one of them. I go through the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, it's basically always about the destruction of the wicked and the righteous inheriting the land. This is the destruction during the final judgment, the great day of the Lord, as well as when he arrives, all wickedness off the face of the earth will be wiped off, and these righteous people will inherit the land in the millennial kingdom and in the new heaven and new earth. So he continues, dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt compelled to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all entrusted to God's holy people. For certain individuals whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped in among you. They are ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ as our only sovereign and Lord. Don't forget that we are saved by faith in Jesus Christ. God offers us grace And some people want to test that grace and say, hey, we're forgiven. All our sins that we've done, all the sins and the mistakes that we make in the future, if we're in Jesus Christ, we're covered. So we see that with the Nicolaitans and their sexual immorality. That and unfortunately, we see this in the Catholic Church, where you can just go to the priest, say what you've done bad during the week, and he tells you to do a few Hail Marys, and then you can just keep on cleaning the slate as you go. So people like to pervert the gospel. Paul in Romans points that out. He calls this idea ludicrous, that you would take the gospel to give you, authority to sin, because you're saved, right? God's grace. Paul says, should we sin more so that grace will abound more? He goes, certainly not. That's what Paul says in Romans. So we're still dealing with the same thing over here. Starting on verse 5. Though you already know all this, I want to remind you that the Lord at one time delivered his people out of Egypt, but later destroyed those who did not believe. Listen here now, this is important. We're talking about the angels, the fallen angels. We're talking about Genesis 6. We're talking about the Nephilim. We're talking about angel-human hybrids. And Jesus is warning that as in the days of Noah, these angel rebellions, so will it be at the coming of Son of Man, which now we see in the skies, the orbs, the lights. Everyone that is waiting for the, sky daddy to come and save us. They believe that they have the secret knowledge and that they even seeded us. This is the coming great deception. But as Christians, we should recognize that there's nothing new under the sun, and that what was being done that caused God to have no choice but to flood everything and keep one man, Noah, and his family untainted by the genetics, or at least Noah. This is going to be happening not exactly the same way, but in a different way. Don't forget that angel-human hybrids are called Nephilim. They happen to have been giants, but it doesn't necessarily mean that because the first incursion, they were very, very big. They were huge giants. There were also Nephilim, these hybrids, after the flood. They seem to have been a weaker race, these descendants, these Nephilim. Nephilim means when angels and humans, join DNA to create, some kind of a offspring. It doesn't mean that the third incursion doesn't mean that a great deception will not happen with these fallen angels able easily to make technology. We see ancient technology in the past, right? This is why it's called like a special edition. I'm not just reading straight through Jude. I'm really trying to tie in a lot of things and to prepare people, Christians, with the understanding that all of these things, the signs in the sky, all of this disclosure that, I think this is controlled opposition. I think this is all a game, in my opinion. They're giving us a little bit, but what are they giving? The powers to be, the governments, and these whistleblowers, now this is just my opinion, are controlled opposition, in my opinion. Their goal, is to make you believe that these are not fallen angels, that these are extraterrestrial, they're intergalactic, meaning they're physical beings, all right, that will be said that they are way more advanced. Well, of course, I agree. They are way more advanced. And I agree that there's evidence of, ancient societies, I would say pre-Diluvian, before the flood, were high tech, Atlantis. I'm not blowing that off at all. What I'm saying is the Great Deception is that this is interdimensional warfare. And it's, like I said, a seed war. And this fits perfectly into the Bible, into the inspired word of God. And I'm happy that more and more Christians are speaking of this, because it's not the typical thing that you'll ever hear your your pastor talk about when you go to church on Sunday, kind of thing. But technology in and of itself is not necessarily evil. We see that it is being used in many ways as evil, but it's also, technology allows people, well, at least for now, until we completely get censored, to learn from each other. There's a lot more communication. Actually, this is one of the end time predictions, that in the end, knowledge will increase. So let's look at these fallen angels over here. I'll start over with 5. Though you already know all this, I want to remind you that the Lord at one time delivered his people out of Egypt, but later destroyed those who did not believe. So Moses takes them out of Egypt. They're wandering around, grumbling and complaining, even though God is feeding them. He's providing for them. They've seen miracles in Egypt occur. They've crossed the Red Sea, quite a huge miracle. Moses is striking rocks and there's water coming out of it in the desert. But they were complaining, and they were showing a lack of tremendous gratitude. Imagine all of these signs and wonders, and you're still complaining to God. So these people never made it to the promised land. They all died in the desert. It was Joshua was the only one that was able, with that next generation, to enter, topple Jericho, enter into the promised land. So this is a warning to those who, in a way, are pulled out of the spiritual Egypt. They're slaves to sin, and now they leave that Egypt that's a symbol of sin. But then after we lose our fervor, and then we start complaining, it's a pretty much a warning to Christians as well. In verse 6, we get into the angels. And the angels who did not keep their position of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. That is, the great day is the day of the Lord, the wrath of the Lord, where God comes down and judges all of the wicked here on earth through Jesus Christ. In a similar way, Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. They serve as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. So let's look at this. Some people will say angels can't have sex. There's a passage that says somebody's wife, he dies, and then after his brother takes her as a wife, this happens 7 times. They ask, when we go to heaven, whose wife will she be? And they say, you'll be like the angels in heaven. You will not be giving in marriage and stuff like that, relating to sexual intercourse. Well, angels have a certain body when they're in the spiritual abode, okay, where they belong. And when they come here on earth, they always look like men. They look like human males. So they're able to eat. You can touch them physically, and they're able to have sexual intercourse when they come down. So when we look at here, he specifies the angels who did not keep their position of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling. So let's look at what could it be? What's the sin that they did that caused such a harsh judgment, that they're in everlasting chains, right? Well, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. And then, well, what did they do? We don't know yet. In a similar way. So now we know that what these angels did, it's very similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. And they serve as an example of those who suffered the punishment of eternal fire. I just did 2 archaeology videos of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a real place. In these videos, we see structures that are turned to ash. We see the purest of pure sulfur balls, 99% pure. You can ignite them. So we actually do know where Sodom and Gomorrah is, and maybe I can show that after. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a super short book, but it ties in so much, like, so we'll see. All right. Even here, they serve as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. So when God made time, space, and matter, at one point, time didn't exist. Scientists say that. So if time did not exist, the fabric of time at one point, the creator then is outside of time. He's the singularity. He's the source through which time, time, space, and matter exists. So eternal fire doesn't necessarily mean it's existed forever in the past and it'll exist forever in the future. It can as well mean a destination. It is eternal because it is outside of time, and our brains really can't comprehend that. But if we look at Sodom and Gomorrah now, we still see that they're ashes and they're still sulfur balls, but the people that got destroyed when Yahweh rained down fire and brimstone from Yahweh in heaven, they're not eternally burning there. They were turned to ashes. And this is an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. I don't see any eternal conscious torment. I see the wicked exactly the way it says all throughout the Bible, basically, that the wicked will be ashes under the souls of the righteous. All right, let's go to 8. In the very same way, on the strength of their dreams, these ungodly people pollute their own bodies, reject authority, and heap abuse on celestial beings. That's an odd thing to say. They heap abuse on celestial beings. But even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not himself dare to condemn him for slander, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." Yet these people slander whatever they do not understand, and the very things they do understand by instinct, as irrational animals do, will destroy them. Woe to them. They have taken the way of Cain, and Abel. Cain killed his brother. They have rushed for profit into Balaam's error. They have been destroyed in Korah's rebellion. So Balaam and Korah, I can pop up in during word study and go into a little bit, but basically he disobeyed for money, for profit. Korah's rebellion, I'd have to look up a little bit more in the Old Testament about it. But obviously they're rebelling, they're sinning against God. These people are blemishes at your love feast, eating with you without the slightest qualm. Shepherds who feed only themselves. They are clouds without rain, blown along by the wind, autumn trees without fruit and uprooted, twice dead. So unless we're raptured, we're all going to die, right? Christians, non-Christians, everyone's going to die once here physically. But when we are resurrected, the second resurrection of the ungodly before the judgment seat, they will be thrown into the lake of fire, and it specifies the lake of fire is the second death. So twice dead. And again, being twice dead means that you're not suffering eternal conscious torment. There will be judgment for the ungodly. They'll be wiped off here if they, for the great day of the Lord, they might die before. Some people will be here for the wrath of God to wipe off here, but they will also appear before Jesus Christ. So God the Father gives authority to the Son to be the judge of everyone. So they are like wild waves of the sea, foaming up their shame, wandering stars, for whom blackest darkness has been reserved forever. So is punishment hellfire, or is it blackest darkness? So there's a lot of metaphors pointing to this place, hell, but we shouldn't try and define it, in a solid fashion. Oh, it's exactly like this. We don't know about heaven that way yet. Man's imagination, when it comes to the idea of punishing people, they get very, very descriptive, and they should keep it basically to biblical passages. Stop painting these paintings of hell. Not to mention, the majority of the time, first of all, the Old Testament has no concept of hell and hellfire. They talk about Sheol, which is the common grave of everyone. We all go to Sheol. It's the underground. And we see Hades is called hell in the New Testament when it should be Hades, because Hades is the Greek version of Sheol. It's, again, the common grave. Is there goods? Are there different compartments? It seems like that might be the truth. Tartarus is where these fallen angels in the New Testament are chained. It's the deepest level of Hades. And then you have Jesus, saying hell a lot also. But the word is actually Gehenna, the valley of the sons of Hinnom, which is a beautiful garden now. But back then, it was a place where they did pagan worship and sacrificed children. And it became also like a garbage pit with, maggots constantly devouring, carcasses, and the garbage, smoldering. And he used that as a metaphor as well. So painting the word hell over all of these different things like Sheol, Hades, Gehenna, things like that, it doesn't give an accurate view. It's oversimplified. Now, let's get over here. Enoch. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones, to judge everyone and to convict all of them of all the ungodly acts they have committed in their ungodliness, and of all the defiant words ungodly sinners have spoken against him. These people are grumblers and fault finders. They follow their own evil desires. They boast about them and flatter others for their own advantage. So I want to bring this up here. I'm just going to stop the screen share for a moment. When I'm finished, I'll say hello to everybody. Salut Yann, ça va bien, man? GabberBeastTV. Nice to meet you, man. All right. We have... Here, let's put this one up. Here's the current slide I want to pop up. Just make sure that it shows here. Okay, so on the top is the first book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9. And behold, he cometh with 10,000s of holy ones. And behold, he cometh with 10,000 of his holy ones, to execute judgment upon all, and destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and all the hard things which and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So in the Bible, New Testament, the Epistle of Jude, we have 14 and 15, verse 14 and 15. It's exactly the same as the first book of Enoch. We know This is not disputed that the first book of Enoch is intertestamental. So it's after the Torah, after the Old Testament, and prior to the New Testament. So this is not a book that was, a medieval forgery or anything like that. Michael Heiser is an academic that kind of gives the best. He goes very deep into the first book of Enoch. He explains why it's not part of the canon. There was just certain criteria that they used, and it didn't fit in. I think even just the language that it was written in was one reason why it wasn't accepted. But it was known, and it was accepted by the early Christians as well as the Jews as literature. And if Jude is quoting it, and quoting it especially in relation to the angels and their sexual immorality, then this is this narrative of Genesis 6, the sons of God descending on the daughters, the Nephilim, the reason for the flood, why Noah was chosen, the conquests that were occurring in the promised land, the warning that Jesus says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. What do we see happening now? We see CRISPR technology. We see, genetic manipulation. It says that they sinned against the animals, the plants. What do you mean sinning against the plants? We have now medicinal eggs that can deliver medication to us. We have spermicidal corn, genetically modified plants that can be used as literally weapons against us. So here we have the first book of Enoch that I just read. And look, Jude is an exact quote from the book of Enoch. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone and to convict all of them and all the ungodly acts they have committed in their ungodliness, and of all the defiant words ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So interesting, and fun fact that to me, that gives enough proof about the angel human hybrid Nephilim. Jude had enough respect for the literature to actually put it and quote it. I do want to show you, just a minute, let's go back. Did I finish? Just one moment, guys. Just gonna go back. All right. Over here, a call to persevere. But dear friends, remember what the apostle of our Lord Jesus Christ foretold. They said to you, in the last times there will be scoffers who will follow their own ungodly desires. These are the people who divide you, who follow their mere instincts and do not have the Spirit. So you'll hear those kind of people. Well, one thing that comes to mind are people that say, I was born that way. Oh, I was born that way. Well, yeah, we're all born into our fallen natures, sometimes referred to as the flesh. But you, dear friends, by building yourselves up in your most holy faith and praying in the Holy Spirit, keep yourself in God's love as you wait for the mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ to bring you to eternal life. Be merciful to those who doubt. Save others by snatching them from the fire. To others show mercy mixed with fear, hating even the clothing stained by corruptible flesh. And when you go to the footnotes, it'll say fallen nature. Does it say usually? Most of the time it does. So look, even here, it talks about Jude 15, from the Jewish first book of Enoch, approximately the 1st century BC. And the closing statement, to him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy. To the only God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, power, and authority through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and forevermore. Amen. If you are doing Bible study on your own, I told you that I would share decent websites or decent pastors or lectures or YouTube channels. Enduring Word's really good. I find it really good. I'll read it. I'll read the chapter and then I'll come back here and learn additional stuff. So I don't know too much about Balaam in the Old Testament, so I used it here because you know how they referred to the error of Balaam. Over here, it talks about the error of Balaam. That's why I like the daily bread and stuff like that. It kind of like doesn't allow me to skip over things. It's like, oh, I have to go look this up because I'm not sure. So Balaam's error, we can go. So have run greedily in the error of Balaam for profit. Balaam's story is in Numbers 22, 25, and 31. During the time of the Exodus, Israel advanced to the land of Moab after defeating the Amorites. Amorites are Nephilim. When the Israelites came near, King Balak of Moab sought the help of a prophet named Balaam. The first delegation from King Balak arrived, and God told Balaam to have nothing to do with them. God's initial words to Balaam were, "You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed." After the first visit, another more prestigious delegation came with great riches. Balaam wanted to go with them, and God allowed him to go. Balaam lusted after the riches and prestige offered to him, and God gave him over to his own sin. God warned Balaam to turn back when he was on the way to see Balak. Yet his heart was set on the rich rewards King Balak promised, and he continued on. Balaam even ignored a talking hee-haw donkey sent to warn him to turn back. Balaam knew that he was doing wrong. In Numbers, he said to God, "I have sinned. Now, therefore, if it displeases you, I will turn back." But he didn't turn back. He continued on, refusing to see that when God says no, we must take it as a no. Instead, God gave Balaam what his sinful heart desired. After meeting King Balak of Moab, Balaam prophesied over Israel 4 times, but as he spoke forth God's word, he did not curse Israel. Instead, he blessed her each time. When he was unsuccessful in cursing Israel, Balaam advised Balak on how to bring, and it was, you can read up more, but Balaam succumbed to greed. Also, there's an example here they had mentioned in Jude about Korah. So the rebellion of Korah. Korah's story is found in Numbers 16. He was a prominent man in Israel, and one day came to Moses saying, "You take too much upon yourself, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourself about the congregation?" Oh yeah, so this, I remember this. This is kind of like the rebellion that they had while they were in the desert. They wanted to choose, like a self-appointed leader and just like head back to Egypt. But let's read on what this site says. "Why then do you exalt yourself about the congregation of the Lord?" Korah and his followers resented the authority God gave to Moses and Aaron. When Korah said this, Moses fell on his face, knowing God's judgment would soon come. Moses then proposed a test. Each group took censers and came before the Lord. The Lord himself would choose which man he wanted to represent him, Moses or Korah. When they both came before the Lord told Moses to step away. Then the ground opened up and swallowed Korah and his followers. After that, fire came down from heaven and burned up all of his supporters, and they all perished. I'm just going to look at the comments. If ever you want comments to be acknowledged, in case I would jump over a question, please write it in cap locks if possible, guys. It's not busy, so it's not hard for me now. Salut Yann, oui, je sais, il va falloir qu'on organise une heure pour parler. Dans le livre d'Enoch décrit ce que les anges déchus ont appris aux hommes, la dualité construit des âmes cosmétiques et yeah, so Yan's just saying in French about the first book of Enoch, what they did, teaching, secret, just teaching humans things that ended up corrupting them, and how to like build weapons and stuff like that. I am good, man. Thanks for coming from Bruce's channel. I really appreciate it. Rebellious angels, giant hybrid beings, humans taken up to a heavenly realm above earth. Is it possible that Enoch was stricken from Bible because its documents? For me, if you read the first book of Enoch, they talk about the sons of God, and the sons of God are angels everywhere in the Bible. It's kind of like, it's very clear to me that this is an angelic rebellion. But I understand, like, that's why I can go on Bruce's channel, and we're all looking at kind of the same information. I'm 100%, convinced that the Bible is inspired. The sons of God and all the other passages are angels. And so that's why I'm just taking the biblical narrative at face value. I don't think it's misinterpreted. I think, like, when it says sons of God, the Bible means that they're sons of God, and that is always related to angels. You see in Job when the devil, or Satan actually, is before God and all the sons of God. So it's like the divine council. So I take a completely, biblical view. But I do respect, that's why I can go on Bruce's channel or talk with other people, and we can talk about the same topic, because what I'm seeing, Bruce, all of the orbs and the activity on the moon, and what people would be like ancient astronaut theory and things like that. We're all looking at the same information. I'm just taking the biblical view, and on top of it, I'm saying, no, the Bible is truly talking about angels. But yeah, like, it's definitely super interesting. And that's, I don't know if you were there at the start, but that's what I was saying. The coming deception is the fact that the angels left their first abode, the spiritual world. They came down, like in Genesis 6. They mated with human women. It made angel-human hybrids. And, it says that Enoch was taken up to God. It says why he was taken up. But I can see, raptures and stuff like that. Well, in a way, there are, if you're looking at the aliens, in a way, humans are raptured up from their beds to the spaceship and things like that. I am of the opinion that the great deception is exactly that. that they will play alien, like intergalactic, extraterrestrial, when in reality, these are interdimensional, demonic fallen angels. And so I'm tying all of this in to a Christian narrative and saying, hey, look, the Bible, even if all of this activity, all of this narrative fits into a biblical worldview. So I really feel that these are not our friends. These are not good people, but they could really deceive humans into like, hey, we can give you eternal life. We can, use your consciousness, and it becomes digitalized. Oh, you need like this upgrade so that you could live forever. These kind of things. But I completely understand people that don't take that worldview. We can like literally still point out and share information. Hey, check this out. And it's like, great, I'm putting it into my little angel box, and somebody else can put it into alien. Like Von Daniken and stuff like that. I've only been Christian for 5 years, so prior to that, I'm not I haven't been Christian all my life, and like not been aware of those things. Von Daniken, I've looked at, on Netflix, the whole series as well. And, I used to be into Buddhism and Tao Te Ching and Kabbalah, mysticism, all of these things. And, alien documentaries still really interest me as well. And it's just, I've come to looking at the data through my faith. I've come to the conclusion that they're interdimensional beings, and that they are malevolent. Right. And Bruce knows that. Like I remember giving a super chat, I was like $2 super chat. I'm like, they're fallen angels, so it's like a little bit of an ongoing joke. That's why I'm very skeptical even about disclosure and stuff like that. I think that it could be controlled opposition. These whistleblowers, and this is just guessing, but they could be whistleblowers that are leading, kind of just tickling our ears a little bit, that, oh yeah, disclosure is coming about the aliens, So when they finally arrive, everyone is ready to accept them. But the Enoch is very clear that these are fallen angels. These are angels that are rebelling against God. So if we're going to make those fallen angels into aliens, then who made those aliens? Because for God, people often say, well, who made God? But if we know that the universe is expanding, and during the Big Bang, let's say, time, space, and matter came into existence, it means that whatever that singularity was, whatever that first cause was, if time didn't exist, then it's timeless. If at one point everything exploded and matter didn't exist, and then it exploded, and then all elements and all matter came into being, then that first cause has to be immaterial. So when we start getting with whatever created time has to be timeless, whatever created matter has to be non-matter, immaterial, we start getting into descriptions that are metaphysically similar to God. For me, if these are just more evolved life forms, well, who created them, and how did inorganic matter become alive? Where is biogenesis? Where did dead elements and stuff like that weren't conscious, where did that spring into being? And for me, the alien theory, it doesn't satisfy that answer for me. I'm just going to share a few things, possibly if people are interested in previous videos that I made on this subject. Let me go from the bottom up. under videos. Used to be a diet channel. All right, let me see here. Where does it start? Yeah. So yeah, here's just a few quick videos on conditional immortality. I believe that the punishment of sin is death. I could point out the PowerPoint presentation where it says they're cast into the lake of fire, the second death. So I believe that there is judgment by fire. It's very clear. The example of Sodom is judgment by eternal fire. I think that the wicked will pay for what they've done, but that eventually they get capital punishment. They're thrown into the lake of fire. It's the second death. Here, Rethinking Hell. This is one I really suggest that if you're interested in my point of view, to watch. The real reason God flooded the earth. So it's power ended and had sex with humans. Now, what are the sons of God? We have to figure that out. They say that, oh no, as their leader said on to them, I fear you will. Video is good. I'm proud of this one. And then after any other ones. Yeah, so you can go through the archives. Here's a real alien activity. I comment a little bit on Bruce's stuff. Here, talking about time, space, matter, and God. When we go to playlists, this is like the daily bread. So Acts, Romans, John is completed. One study on Revelation so far. I want to show you guys
everywhere.
So this is like Sodom and Gomorrah, the actual place archaeologically. So you can go to the playlist and check that out because it ties in with Jude. Those are all like sulfur balls. He's going to light them up. Watch, come on. Anyways, you can check. He lights it up. It's pure sulfur. Usually sulfur is greenish and it's about like 40 to 60% pure. This is 99% pure. And then I have this other one here under the playlist. This one, you see a lot more of the structures. So all of this is look, you see this? This is impressive. Like you can tell, and this is all like soft ash. You can just like crumble it up. So this is another video you can go check in the playlist. You see the structures in the back here. Let me go like twice speed. This was done like recently. Look at that. You can tell that this isn't just like nature creating these things. These are structures. And the thing about this is it's 4,000 years old. So when God sets an example, all right, when God sets an example, he really sets an example because that example is still here to this very day as a warning. Go here. Extraterrestrial. All right. How much time are we in? I'll just go through some of the PowerPoint presentations that I've already done videos on. Just, maybe let's do another 20 minutes or so. All right, present screen. Just give me one moment, guys. I'm going to pop the presentation up first. Got a few. This one is the real reason God flooded the earth. Slideshow. Okay, give me a second. Oh. I want to make sure. I don't think my wife is home yet. All right, we can go through this kind of like quickly. Again, I showed you the video that's titled "The Real Reason God Flooded the Earth." I forget if it's in the live or the video. It might be in the video. So, like I said, the Bible is about a genetic war, okay, between Satan's desire to corrupt the image of man. Now, the image of man, God is made, man is made in God's image, can mean a lot of things. I mean, we have morality, a compass. We have a moral compass that other animals and stuff like that do not exhibit. We have our cognitive abilities that are unique compared to other animals. I think that our DNA, which is a genetic code, which it's hard to not believe that if there's a genetic code with 6 billion letters, it's hard to say that there's no coder. No one wrote that code. It just exists because of a long period of time and blind random chances and mutations. I don't believe that. But without going off on a tangent, what I'm trying to show here is this is a genetic seed war. All right, so let's read it. Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He's talking to Satan now. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. According to this verse, there will be enmity between the individual woman and the serpent who deceives her. The word enmity indicates a blood feud. I would go as far as to say a genetic war. In Genesis 6, so this is for GabberBeastTV, about like your question, like, could it be aliens? I have so much faith with the studies that I've done that I would say no, but that's just coming from me. I'm peering through the lens of the Bible, and that's pretty much my reasoning here. Genesis 6, wickedness in the world. So if you look at Genesis 6, it says, when humans began to increase in number on the earth, the daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim, who happened to be giants, were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. So this is where I see like all of these cultures that had deities, Hercules, Zeus, all of these things. I don't think that they're like completely imaginary. They might have, mythology might have been added a little bit to it, but I think that there's truth to it. especially the fact that the alien activity, that people believe that it's aliens, galactic brothers or extraterrestrials, but still, life forms here within, our universe. I think that, you know, the sons of God were playing with reproduction, playing with blood, bloodlines and DNA. And I think that, when Jesus says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. I see, you see articles how, we're, this is a mouse with this much percent of human DNA. There's like, there's a goat that was spliced with a spider with CRISPR technology that gives spider silk that they're using for armor. Some weird stuff. And, the idea of creating organs for us by adding human DNA, more and more human DNA getting, jammed together with these technologies, and they're doing a lot of stuff in China and stuff where there's less regulation. I had mentioned before, Gabber, maybe you weren't there, but the sons of God created these giants. There were also descendants of these giants after the flood, and they were still huge, but less. They were like a weakened strain. And all that Nephilim means, Nephilim doesn't necessarily mean giant. It just means offspring of the union, the genetic union of angels, interdimensional beings, and humans. So they don't necessarily have to be giants now. When we look at the alien phenomenon, not angel, but people, that are these documentaries and stuff like that, very often it is about reproduction. It's about, these painful procedures. They're taking specimens. Women, and it's often, let's say, intergenerational, meaning, the mother, then the daughter has these experiences. They get, beamed up or raptured up into these facilities, and they show like the abductee, like, this is your daughter. It's part alien, part human, and things like that. So it seems like these galactic brothers and sisters are really, really preoccupied with our junk and stuff like that. And it tells me that, and that it's following the Bible between your seed and her seed again. So it really does fit in nicely. And for me to say, like, well, maybe the sons of God are aliens, that for me is to say, yeah, all of the years of looking at prophecies, looking at Bible codes, looking at the foreshadowing, all of these things, then it becomes like, well, maybe Jesus is an alien too from another world, and he came as our savior. So, like, I can't go down that route, because it denies everything. It denies the Holy Spirit experience that I've had in my life. So it pretty much, the Bible is the Old Testament, New Testament are put together with deep study. I don't find any contradictions. I do when initially it's looked at, superficially, some stuff looks really, out of whack. But the minute you start taking, well, what if this, the whole Bible will topple like a Jenga. For me, there's no reason to say what if, because the Bible is proving to me all of the stuff that I am currently seeing. Plus, we're talking about end time prophecies and things like that are coming true. The Euphrates River is drying up, and all of the end time prophecies are lining up. So for me, it's just the Bible is giving more and more and more evidence that, for me, it would be like, I just don't see how I could turn away from what's been revealed to me. So that's why I'm like hardcore not moving on that position. That's me. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and every evil inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The blah, blah, blah. It goes on. For here, we look at the sons of God, our angels. In Job 1:6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them. In Hebrew, Bene Ha Elohim always, means angels to them. In Job 6, this is a divine council. By the way, Elohim is just a word that denotes if there's a being that resides in the spiritual realm, there are Elohim. So Yahweh, God, is also an Elohim, but no Elohim is Yahweh, basically. They are not human because the other people are saying like, oh yeah, this whole thing is they are not humans from they're saying that they're from the line of Seth. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So this is like when the morning stars sang together. So it's very, very clear, at least biblically, that that's the narrative. Let me just see what Gabber is saying. Thanks for interacting with me, Gabber. Just want to acknowledge. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing what you think. I like just larger humans, different species. Yeah, let me go back. And bring this one down. I'll just read the comments from Gabber. Okay. Hey, Jules. Nice to see you. Again, I'll just give you the biblical narrative. Are giants just like larger humans, or like a different species to humans, aliens, human hybrids? Yeah. So the Bible says angels came down, mated in Genesis 6 with human women. These were Nephilim. They were giants of great stature. And they were abominations because they are not human and they're not angels. They're offspring that are demigods in a way, small g. They are angel human offspring. In fact, it says that when the Nephilim died, they became evil spirits that roam the earth and torment humans. So evil spirits are actually the spirits of the Nephilim. Like the book of Enoch will Genesis 6 is very brief, doesn't go into much detail, but you go to the first book of Enoch, it talks about Azazel, and then after, people are like, well, first book of Enoch, it's not in the Bible. It's like, okay, fine, but Jude took it serious enough at the start of the daily bread that I just read through the book of Jude. He took it serious enough to quote chapter 1, verse 9 from the book of Enoch. So it's very clear that, if there was a crazy story about a rebellion of angels, I believe there were 200 coming down and taking women and having offspring, then, if it was that like wacky and blasphemous and false, Jude would have never quoted from it. Oh, you're going to love this then. I love Jesus too. Hey, Jules. Here, just stay a little bit, Gabriel. I'll show you the presentation that I had did a video. All right, let's just continue with this. You're going to like the giant skeletons and stuff like that. Yeah, so this is the first book of Enoch. So if you just read through, which we won't do now, it's very clear that it's sexual intercourse. It says that it was written, the book of Enoch, around 300 to 200 BC. I've seen 200 to 100 BC also. Another book that was written during this period of the apocalyptic movement in which the Dead Sea sect came into existence is the book of Enoch, or 1 Enoch. It was completely preserved in the Ethiopic translation from Greek, and large parts from the beginning and end of the Greek version have been published from two papyrus scrolls, Aramaic fragments of many books. Many parts of the book were even found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nephilim here, this is from Jewish Virtual Library. A race of giants said to have dwelt in pre-Israelite Canaan. Genesis 6, 1 and 2 relates that the sons of God, or divine or angelic beings, took mortal wives. Verse 4 continues, it was then and later too that the Nephilim appeared on earth when the divine beings cohabitated with daughters of men who bore them offspring. They were the heroes, the Gibborim of old, the men of renown. This could mean that the Nephilim were contemporaneous, but not identical with the offspring of divine beings and earthly women who were called Gibborim. The above translation, however, follows an ancient tradition in equating the Nephilim and the Gibborim as offspring of the union of angels and mortals. Again, Jude 1 and 6, this is where he specifies that this is sexual immorality occurring. It says, and the angels who did not keep their first position of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, heaven, these he has kept, or the spiritual, their proper dwelling is the spiritual realm. These he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day in a similar way. So he's talking about these angels. They left their proper dwelling, the spiritual realm. They entered the human realm. Now they're being punished. They're being kept in darkness. They're bound in chains for judgment day. And then it lets us know what their sin was, what they're being punished for. In a similar way to the angels, Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. They serve as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. Eternal fire doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to be cast in there and burn and be tormented forever and ever. You can look up conditional immortality, and there's a lot of Christians that believe in conditional immortality. Eternal is outside of time. It's a destination. Everything that comes from God comes from the eternal state. They even say in Corinthians, it is for this reason that a woman ought to have authority over her own head because of the angels. It has to do with the angels being attracted to human women. Peter says, for if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell, which is actually Tartarus, and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until judgment. Here are passages about the giants. So if you look over here, it says, there also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Enoch, are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sights. I'll just keep on reading them through. Then a champion came out from the armies of the Philistine named Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Usually a cubit is elbow to your finger. So that's pretty tall. Then Ishbi Benub, who was among the descendants of the giants, the weight whose spear was 300 shekels of bronze in weight, was girded with a new sword, and he intended to kill David. There was war in Gath again, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers in each hand and 6 toes. So there are tons, like the Bible is riddled with Nephilim and the war between Israel, and God, commanding them to rid Canaan and the region of these abominations. So giant clans in the Bible, there's Rephaim, Emim, Anakim, Horim, Avim, Zanzumim. These were the tribes God commanded the Israelites to ruthlessly slaughter and completely destroy. So a lot of people are like, oh, aren't we all God's children? And why did he choose the nation of Israel? And all of a sudden he tells Israel to be ruthless and to completely harem, it's referred to, like level these people, kill everything. It's because they weren't human. They were abominations. They were hybrids. Here are more giants, more giants. So when it comes to Greek mythology, I think that these are the great men of renown, the Nephilim, or at least the origin of these myths, which are, in my opinion, not really myths. The Greeks were, into philosophy. They were intellectuals. They weren't stupid. We also have giants in all native cultures. They all have giant stories, usually about orange hair or red haired giants with 6 fingers and 6 toes. Here's the in Sitikai, the red haired giants in Lovelock, Nevada. Here's a casting of, let's say me and you, a typical jaw. And these are remnants of the bones of these giants. Look how large they are. These giants have been described as vicious, unfriendly, cannibalistic. Despite their modest numbers, the Sidikai constituted a grave threat to the Indians who were just beginning to establish themselves. I see, in all of this mythology, and you have this is probably Pan or Inky. I think this would be Pan. You see his little junk there. So sexual perversion. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. So what does the first book in Enoch mean when it says they began to sin against bird, beast, and reptiles? I think it's genetic manipulation and crossbreeding creatures. And I see this happening in science today. These are the sizes, supposedly anywhere from 6 feet to 36 feet. You can imagine if giants were this large, much easier, coupled with angel technology, to be able to move these megaliths. I think that the giants are closely related to the builders of these wonders of the world, these megalithic structures. But don't forget that the angels as well were not cast into chains immediately. And I think that they taught man a little bit more than metallurgy and cosmetics and herbs and astronomy and stuff like that. I think that they were there, angels were there during the creation of the world, of the universe. They understand genetics, and I think this is where people look and say, look at the aliens existed, and they taught these ancient cultures advanced technology. It's like, I think that this is fallen angel technology. Here's just a typical person over here, and here's an actual skeleton. I know this one is real because the Queen of England in one of the pictures is looking at it. all of these giants are they've been hidden or destroyed. They're no longer shown in museums because it gives validity to the Bible and all the stories of giants, and it goes also against basically evolution. They were stronger, taller, they were larger brain, so it kind of goes against evolution. But New York Times, okay, giant skeletons found. Cave in Mexico gives up the bones of an ancient race. Strange skeletons found. Indications that tribe unknown once lived in Wisconsin. Skeleton of a giant found. Great excitement among the workmen. The largest skeleton ever found. Where are they? Where are they now? They're obviously, it's been fact checked, but the Smithsonian was collecting them, and supposedly they've destroyed all the evidence. They just ground that stuff to powder. But indeed, again, the Bible claims that there were giants on the earth in those days, and we're talking about, you know, what year is somewhere early 20th century or late 19th century. Here, 1919, July, hey there, July 11th, my birthday. A giant skeleton, 18 feet tall. Do you understand the strength? Have you ever been with a guy, beside a guy like 7 feet tall, how small you feel? This is an 18-foot giant, 18 feet tall. Okay, giants, they're all over the place. How come now it's being withheld? When you look at this over here, okay, look at Egyptian art. Okay, that is an elongated skull. All right. Often they had headdresses, and I thought it was just like their hats that they were wearing. I think this is Nefertiti, but you see that this is cranial. This is not human shape. We see skulls here. We see the skulls, I think, of Paracus. Forster works a lot. I'll show you there. And the other thing is that it's larger brain volume. Okay, the amount, the size of the skull, the content. We also have parietal plates. You know, humans. It's just, you know, humans all have the same suturing of the skulls. Okay, here they have different ones. They're not human. They are not human, and they're being hidden. And why do you think cultures do this? Because if these were the offspring of angels and human, you know, all this mutations and stuff like that, then that means that humans were trying to act like royalty. So they're like, oh yeah, here are our overlords, our gods. So you know what, like, we're going to imitate so that our skulls look like those rulers, trying to emulate that. You have, you know, very, very weird little guys with elongated skulls. Here, this is Nefertiti. So see, this is what I you see the headdresses, but yeah, you know why they're shaped like that? It's because, like, literally that's how their skull is. Showing, you know, statues, it's like, no, that's really what their skulls look like. These were not human DNA. We have Gilgamesh, 5.5 meters tall. We see here, okay, maybe the pharaohs are depicted as larger beings because of, you know, it's like, oh well, they were king. Let's make them bigger. But I don't think so. Now that I'm looking at it, I see these elongated skulls as well as giants everywhere. Look at how tall this person would be if they stood up. 5 to 6 meters tall. More odd shaped skulls. Same thing here. Look how tall they are compared to these people. Almost as tall as a giraffe in this image, in this art. Oh yeah, well, this was the reason why God had to flood the earth. I'm just picking up some stuff like here, discovery, water underground. There's as much water inside the earth as there is in all of the oceans. That's the conclusion that scientists are reaching after 2014 discovery planted the seed of the idea. Here are different cultures, and the green is the full representation of biblical idea. Partial is there. So transgression, divine destruction, all of this here, the story pretty much of the flood is shared by many cultures. There is a word that is in the Chinese letter is literally a boat with 8 people on it. It's a Chinese letter. I know their alphabet's pretty complex. There may be a second massive ocean deep beneath the surface. I believe that all of these faults here, the fault line stuff, is the passage in the Bible where the fountains of the deep broke open in Genesis 7. All the fountains of the great deep broke open and the windows of heaven were open. I think that the fountains of the deep still have a lot of water. It didn't say it emptied the fountains. So just more wacky skulls. If you're interested in these skulls, I think it would be worth looking up Brian Forster on YouTube. He has a lot of good lectures, and he's the one that deals with here. Brian has explored more than 90 countries, but his true passion is researching and writing about ancient megalithic works from Peru, Bolivia, Mexico, Easter Island, Egypt, England, and beyond. The DNA testing of the skulls of Peru. Ancient elongated skulls have been found in many parts of the world, but the largest and most intriguing lived in Peru and Bolivia. Who they were and why their skulls were altered has not been thoroughly explained. There's another weird dude. Yeah, so check Brian Forster out. I do tie it in with the serpent. In Christianity, the dragon or the serpent is not good. In other cultures, almost all other cultures besides the Judeo-Christian, the serpent is synonymous with secret knowledge. Do you remember the start when I was saying that between your seed and her seed? Well, here's the serpent, and look at what this imagery is. The serpent is trying to swallow a seed, right? It says serpent mounds may have had a spiritual purpose, given that the many native cultures in North and Central America revered the snakes, attributing supernatural powers to the slithering reptiles. So fallen angels and giant offspring. Let's see if I still believe this. I said, I believe the fallen angels shared knowledge with the population. They played gods in the ancient world. The similarities between cultural myths show a grain of truth. The Nephilim alien human hybrids were the builders, explains the ancient technology found around the world that's advanced. However, the knowledge led to corruption of mankind, resulting in requiring the flood. I'm going to answer some questions if there's any. Yeah, Gabber I is agreeing with me about the museum destroying all of the giants. But at least we have the evidence that it was like, hey, New York Times is publishing. Uh, yeah, I'm really happy, Gabber, that you're coming and checking out my channel, man, uh, and you're interacting. Um, if there's, let me see if my wife arrived. I could also pop you up and we can chat. Yeah, the largest stones ever quarried on the planet are those at Baalbek in Lebanon. There are also two which are still in the quarry, one attached to the bedrock and another all alone on the quarry floor next to the bedrock. It's crazy. Look at the size. But if you're like, like that New York Times article, if you're 18 feet tall and you're, tribes of these people, I mean, they could be using angel technology, could be using like harmonics, uh, frequencies also to be cutting these things. There's a lot of stuff, but it's massive. Look at these things. And like, I'm sure you guys, anybody who's into this stuff is aware how like you can't even put a credit card in between them. Like they're perfectly, and look how long they've lasted. That's insane. And they're also finding like tons of civilizations under the water now. There's even like a legend that giants helped Merlin build Stonehenge. This is the Serpent Mound, and all of these things from the megalithic structures to the pyramids, the ziggurats, these serpent mounds. They're all like tied in with the stars and very important or unique or specific times and stuff like that. I kind of threw in because we got into the serpent and stuff. This is the Vatican. Um, what a coinky dink. Yeah, sure. The Vatican, you're right down to the teeth right there. We have here, this is also represented a phallus. Okay. And then you have the female part over here, and you have a seed war, basically. So it's actually also a lamb. I could overlap it, but anyways, this is pretty much the vagina and the penis. This is in the Vatican. Here's the outside, what it looks like. Why does the Vatican love serpents so much? This here is in the Vatican. This is looks like basically the horde of hell coming out. So you see all of these things. It's almost like the when the bottomless pit is broken open and you got like these locust demons popping out. And yeah, it doesn't look too holy to me. It looks satanic. And indeed, you can overlap Baphomet over. And what is, I I know why it's there, but why would the Catholic Church that's supposedly Christian have all of these horrible things, right? Look at this. This is supposed to be Jesus, right? And his hair is flopped to one side here. But if you actually put a line like don't look at his face, that is a perfect serpent. So to me, serpent, all of the serpents in other cultures are again straight from the serpent. This is fallen angels. I mean, Satan was a cherub, a fallen angel as well, or a celestial being. And all you see everywhere is serpent, 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 serpent. It's not good. You see it very clearly up here. Does this look like a good event? Does this look like the second coming of Christ? Or does it look like the hordes of hell? And I mean, these even look like wings or something. And look at the serpent. There's Jesus with a serpent. It also says in Daniel something kind of interesting. And just as you saw iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end. Over here it says, and just as I saw iron mixed with clay, so people will be a mixture and will not remain united. I don't know. Is that like a mixture of DNA? Who knows? The word giant first attested in 12,000. 12,097 was derived from gigantus in Greek mythology. So we got, gigantic people are featured as primeval creatures associated with chaos, the wild nature, and they are frequently in conflict with the gods. Giants are also often play similar roles in mythologies and folklore. So, here is the biblical one. There are also accounts of giants in the Old Testament. Some of these are called Nephilim, a word often translated as giant, although the translation is not universally accepted. And you got Jain mythology, giants, Native American mythology, the Siddiqui that we were looking, the Norse, Abrahamic, the Anakim, the Amorites, the Raphites. These were all occupying the Promised Land. That's the conquests. The reason that the Jews wandered for 40 years and that generation did not enter the Promised Land was because the spies were sent into Canaan, and they came back and they said, we're like grasshoppers compared to these people. They look like oak trees. And because of that, they completely, discouraged everybody. And God was like, I told you that you're to go there and I will give you victory over these people. So they didn't have faith in God when God is making them a promise. I am giving you this land. You go into that land and I'll give you victory. But the spies came back and gave a bad account, and they didn't go in, and therefore they didn't enter the promised land. It was Joshua that did. The book of Numbers includes there you go. I didn't know I had it. The book of Numbers includes the discouraging report by the spies which Moses sent into Canaan. We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Enoch come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. However, the book of Joshua, describing the actual conquest of Canaan in a later generation, makes no reference to such people living there. The Bible also tells of Gog and Magog, who later entered European folklore. Here's Josephus. Josephus Flavius, he's a historian for the Jews. He also speaks of Jesus. He speaks of James, his brother. Josephus also described the Amorites as giants in the Antiquities of the Jews. So this is like extra biblical writing in 93 AD, indicating that fossil evidence still remained at that time, for which reason they removed their camp to Hebron. And when they had taken it, they slew all the inhabitants. There were still then left the race of giants who had bodies so large and countenances so entirely different from other men that they were surprising to the sight and terrible to the hearing. The bones of these men are still shown to this very day, unlike to any credible relation of other men. We have giants spoken about in Islam. This would be the skull compared to like a giant skull compared to like what our skull would be. Here, let's let GabberBeast on. Sorry, I just looked. Here's the pop on when you can, man. I'm just going to go back to the presentation quickly. Just write in the chat, I'm there or something like that, or I joined, so I can just like continue this while I wait for you. Yeah, here's a comparison. Yeah, you definitely have some odd looking skulls. And for me as a Christian, I look and there's serpent worship everywhere. It seems like the only place that serpent energy and kundalini and stuff like that is not seen as good is in Christianity. We look at oh, okay, let me just pop up. Hello. How's your volume?
Hello, g'day. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My volume good, okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
It might be a little bit loud.
A little bit, but it's better than not loud enough or echoey.
Okay.
I love your
Let me just mute your stream. I can put the volume down a little bit. I just have it loud because I do a lot of video editing for China.
Yeah, just a little bit.
G'day, everybody. G'day, Dala. How are you, love?
So where do you live?
Let me just, I think I got Streamlabs stuck on a different audio setting, different headset.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can leave it like that. It's not.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Streamlabs keeps putting it to my Bluetooth dongle, my little Plantronics Bluetooth dongle. Yeah, I've enjoyed watching your show. I like to support you because I'm good friends with Bruce, your brother, and I actually like listening to what you have to say. It's very, very interesting. Your stories are like. Put her on. I'll say to look, Jason's okay. Listen to him. He's got some good stories to say. He's got a lot. You learn a lot of knowledge. Record that and play it back to her.
That's it.
Don't worry. My wife yells at me all the time and says, "You believe garbage," and I'm like, "Nah, I have there's thousands and thousands of ancient documents and supporting evidence. Get out of here."
I love the cat. The cat and your
I drew this with the AI drawing. I wanted to make my own backdrops. I just drew that with the AI program.
That's cool. So give me you've heard me blabbing there for I don't know. Give me your outlook, like with all the everything that's happening. What's your narrative?
Like I've done a lot of research. It's very, very, very interesting what you have to say. I can understand how you say it conflicts with the version that's been taught to you by the church. I can understand that a lot. I can see that very well.
Yeah.
It's like these snakes. One example, like these snakes you were showing. I've been listening to other people talking about the Egyptians have the snakes. All the different cultures have the snakes.
Yeah.
It's a reference to our Kundalini. It comes down from the bottom of your belly, and it comes up like a snake as it activates different chakra points, and then comes up to your pineal gland, and that's what they practice. They say they practice during like meditation and stuff to reach down to the bottom of your belly and generate that energy coil, the snake coil, and pinpoint it into your pineal gland, and then that'll activate your pineal gland to help you like meditate into like higher spiritual levels of awareness and for
like
healing.
I played with that in my 20s, and I did actually. Where is it? Let me just check here.
It's very interesting because all the cultures have this snake, always the serpent worship, the snake worship, and I think it might be a reference to that, but it's like a secret. It's like a secret knowledge sort of a thing. It's like they show the snake, but they don't like to explain it unless you're like part of their secret club or something.
When you look at the Kundalini meditations and stuff like that, they talk about. Obviously, people are trying to do that for a spiritual emergence, but they also often explain a spiritual emergency, which, you know, they'll say that, well, if you're forcing it or you're not properly prepared to do that form of, you know, a Kundalini where it goes up through the chakras and stuff like that, that it can give like pretty much psychotic episodes, or they wouldn't call it psychotic, but they would say that it has symptoms similar. See, like this one here,
like negative effects.
Yeah, like which spirit is it here? Because I was on like 20-year spiritual journey and stuff, so I did so I did this one, and then after this community attacked me, was very upset that
they got upset at you.
Yeah.
How can you get upset at someone exploring spirituality and learning and trying different things and learning from different cultures and different methods? I don't understand how they can like attack you like that. You're just learning. You want to learn about spirituality.
No, exactly.
You're like, you're not chanting in the bush in Haiti doing voodoo spells with frogs and chickens and doing bad things to people, you know?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, snap.
That was funny. Let me see.
Just turn this heater off. It's like morning now.
So you're in England or
Australia, mate? Australia, mate.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you guys get mad with, because like outsiders sometimes does that happen often where they're like, oh, you know, you're like, no, this is an Australian accent, because sometimes it's like, for outsiders like me.
Well, when I start spamming the C word, they all start laughing and they go, "We love you, Gabba. We love you." we use the C word as like a positive word, and Americans and English use it in a negative way. Like Australian language is very, very slang, and they're very, very lazy. Like instead of saying McDonald's, they'll say Macca's. Okay. Instead of saying cigarette, like we'll have a cigar. They shorten the words to like 3 or 4 letters. So that's a very, 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 very lazy way of speaking Australian slang is.
I guess, yeah. Check this out. It's like the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. I mean, it makes sense in India because, I mean, you know, Hinduism and Eastern philosophy, Eastern religion stuff. But so like this guy got really, really mad at me. Which is the next one. I never mentioned the guy's name at all. I just talked about my personal experience playing around with the chakras, and my conclusion is that they are real. Like, I don't deny them as a Christian, but I believe that we shouldn't be forcing anything. So for me, it's like get the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit works with those spiritual centers to align it instead of me trying to align it.
Right. Asking the Holy Spirit for help to center my chakras and like clear them and clean them.
Yeah. But here it says awakening of Kundalini chakra presenting as psychosis. And my mother used to be into like parapsychology and stuff like that when I was a kid. So she was doing this course. And let me try and translate it. It goes, Si tu joues avec le Kundalini, tu vas être assis dans ta piste, tu vas te shooter un beurre de peanut. So if you fool around with the Kundalini, you'll be sitting in your own pee, shooting yourself up with peanut butter. That was pretty much. And I had a horrible experience with it. Like I
Peanut
had like,
butter. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not going to ask you about your peanut butter event.
Yeah. But no,
The
like,
giant.
I had definitely weird experiences, and it didn't make me feel like I was in control of anything. It actually like made me feel like really out of control with stuff. And another friend like went off the deep end. So there was definitely something to it. So I've always had like even this way before, I only became Christian, let's say 5 years ago, and I'm 44.
Yep.
So I mean, I was into this stuff, way before and stuff, and near death. I mean, I touched on everything. I was hungry, and very curious. But this Kundalini thing, like from what I've read and from personal experience, it's like it doesn't. To me, I'm like, no, it's not good. Like
See, a lot of these new age and light spiritual people, like they're promoting a lot of this. I've noticed, but they're like be positive and energy and loving with the universe and everything. Nothing bad will happen to you. But I'm like, the universe doesn't work like that. You need armies, you need guns to protect your freedoms, so that a group doesn't come in to control you, but they're like, no, we can just be positive and loving. I'm telling you now, all the aliens in the universe are not positive and loving. They're positive and benevolent, and they're not going to meddle with you or me or anybody else around, but they do have warships and armies and guns to protect themselves and their freedoms from another group coming in that wants to control them. That's something that the positive love and light people just don't understand. They can't comprehend.
Let's go back on some of the slides of the skull, or anything you want.
Yeah.
And like I said,
the giant skulls. I've researched it. I've researched a bit of it. It's interesting how they have the double row of teeth. They got the double row of teeth. Some of them have the elongated skull. Some of them have like the skull structure is like bigger, not like human skull. Like it's like more pronounced in certain angles. And the Smith, like you said, the Smithsonian Society had many of these. They had them on display, and they even had them on display. And then they decided, we got to get rid of these. And they destroyed them all. Oh, I don't think they destroyed them all. I think they just like hidden. They hidden them. But there was talks about some of them being destroyed because so many were turning up. They just started destroying them because they were just piling them up too much and didn't have anywhere to hide them. And there was an interesting one in Patagonia, the Patagonia giant. There was they got pictures of it, and it was on display. It was like I think it was two-headed Patagonia giant, and it was like eating the villagers, and the villagers got all upset. I think it was in South America somewhere, Patagonia, and the villagers come out and killed the giant, and then put it on display in the village, and they ended up in a museum, and like people would come and take pictures of it in the early 1900s and stuff, and then it vanished. But
if you have a share screen, if ever there's something you want to pop up, let me know. I can share your screen.
While you're talking, I can look stuff up, and if I find something interesting, I'll let you know. I could do stuff like that while you're talking.
Well, no, I'd rather you talk because I've been talking way too much. What do you think? Also, is there some truth to, let's say, the Greek mythology with the demigods and?
I'm Greek.
So,
and I am demigod too. No joke. I'm born demigod, so like I understand when you talk about it because I'm like, hey, I'm demigod too. I understand my bloodline.
So this ain't just mythology, right?
It's like personal to me. Like all my friends call me like, hey, you going demigod? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
That's cool.
But like for me, like my cousins would explain, like my cousins would like, what do you call it? When you like dare me to do something that's like physically impossible to do. Yeah. And he goes, if you can do this, I'll give you my precious magazine or my basketball card or some bubble gum or something. And I would say, all right, give me 15 minutes to think about it, and I'll try and do this. So they'd be like laughing. This is an impossible physical task. Then I'd turn around and do the impossible physical task. And they were like, they'd hand the magazine. I think it was my cousin's Ninja magazine, his most favorite magazine. He handed it over. I earned the Ninja magazine by doing some crazy feat that's just physically impossible. And I did it by just willpower alone. I don't know how to explain it. Took me 15 minutes to figure it out. My cousin was like, remember that time I said, can you do this impossible task? I'll give you my Ninja Masters magazine from 1988 from America, United States.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. He goes, I still can't understand how you did it. And I was like, I can't understand how I did it, but I really wanted that magazine, so I willed it with my heart, you know?
Yeah. Will. Yeah.
But
so
like
now does he hate you because you have his magazine?
No. I keep it in plastic wrap, and it's like brand new. Like I look after a lot of his stuff. He gives me a lot of things away for free now because he knows I look after things like a collector.
Yeah.
The Giants are very interesting. What stories have I heard? Like a lot of them used to be red hair with 2 rows of teeth.
Yeah, up here. This is a one that actually has the red hair still on.
It's got the red hair on there, and you look at some ancient sites, the doorways, the entire ancient site, the doorways, the rooms, the buildings. You walk in there, and you're like, this. The archaeologists are saying this was not built for human-sized people. It's like, but they don't know. So they're thinking like giants build some of these ancient structures, and naturally it's going to be for like 10 foot, 18 foot, 12 foot, however tall they are. It's going to be built to their dimensions so they can walk around with ease. That's what the archaeologists were saying, how these ancient sites, archaeologists are going, these are not built for a human to walk around in. These are built for some type of giant to walk around in.
Well,
and they're saying
over here. Oh, no, sorry, I cut you off. Finish your thought.
That's all right. That's because they're saying the megalithic stones, a human can't pick it up, but like a 12 foot, 18 foot team of giants, probably could place the blocks into place and stuff. They're thinking that's another theory, the giant theory, that the giants build a lot of these buildings. They were like the ancient builders.
Yep.
And
I 100% agree.
That's for the stones that they can identify as being cut from stone, being like that.
Yeah.
I was listening to Greg Barden, and I've gone actually to a conference of his back in 1999 in Sydney about aliens and spirituality. I went to with my mum because my mum's the alien contactee in my family ever since she was little. And I was watching his video, and he said these scientists, the archaeologists in Egypt, they drilled into the large 80-ton granite blocks. Yeah. They drilled into it and took a core sample out and had a look at it. And they said, this is not natural occurring granite because it didn't have some special waves in it or this mineral composition. So they measured it, the composition of the stone. And they're like, how could this stone be like this if it's claimed to be cut from the mines 200 miles up the river in the Nile River? Yeah. So they looked at it and they said they figured out how the composition was made. They crushed up the granite into small pieces, mixed it with epoxy glue resin, molded the block, and just pushed the block into place on site from analyzing the stones in Egypt. And that's why they say that's why every stone is perfectly cut, laser cut, and just put into place. You can't put a piece of paper in between the rocks. It's because each block is perfectly molded as like crushed up rocks with epoxy resin.
Makes sense.
Which was very, very interesting. But they won't tell us in Egypt. They're like, no, the Egyptians built it. I'm like, look, someone built the pyramids and then left thousands of years later, and you just walked down the river and went, oh, look at these pyramids, and you just moved in. But they're like, they don't want to tell the truth. Yeah. And it's interesting. The Smithsonian's come up again. The Smithsonian Institute owns the pyramids, and it's the Smithsonian Institute. Since they own the pyramids, every time a new discovery is found, They kick the archaeologists out, get out of Egypt. You're not allowed to work here no more, and they just cover it all up. Like there's a huge underground city under the Sphinx, under the pyramids.
Yeah.
Water comes in, and it was like a giant battery. The water would come in. They drained water in from the mountains up near Iraq or Iran. These huge water tunnels to feed the city, and as the water hits the rocks on the side, has a piezoelectric effect, which sends the electricity from that piezoelectric effect along the water tunnel and feeds the pyramid. So that's why they say like light beams come out of the pyramid, or like it's an energy source. Yeah. It was like a giant conductor battery made from water just splashing against rocks. But like they've got all the equipment and scanned underneath and found all these things, and they just like they don't want to share it because it goes that the story goes on to the goes onto the alien side. They say there's an ancient hall of records underneath there that's being guarded by a couple aliens, sort of like the Egyptians, like the Horus Egyptians. They got like them sort of guards there, and down there they claim that there's a record in these jars. Or you get like there's like a inside the jar. I think it's like a holographic crystal ball or something. Yeah. And when you pick it up, it's actually you get all these videos and images, and it's like a recorded history of Earth's history with humans. And like they've been recording our history and putting it onto because crystal is like our memory chips, our USB sticks. They got little crystals inside. Records memory, records data. So like so like a big crystal ball or something like that. The device they have in there, the crystalline device, would be like a huge USB stick that could record video and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they reckon there's a hall of records of our true history underneath there. The Germans tried to get there. Hitler knew about it, found out about it, but because they had the wrong intentions, they wanted to use it against take over the world. They couldn't get through because there's like the Galactic Council say they put a barrier there, and if you have bad intentions, you will die trying to go through the barrier, trying to access the Hall of Records, because you have to be good intentions and do good with the knowledge if you're going to have access to this Hall of Records underneath the Sphinx. It's a very interesting story. Very, very interesting.
Oh, that's super cool.
Mm.
I was going to ask you about what do you think? What are your thoughts about Antarctica?
Antarctica.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk of Antarctica. I'll just finish what I was about to wrap up. That's why the Smithsonian owns the pyramids. Would not let anyone dig underneath where they're scanning and found all these passages and the underground city, because the Smithsonian Society, they want access to this Hall of Records because they say there's like great alien technology also in there, and they want to access that technology to keep it from us, to use it against us. So, but they can't get access to it because they got the bad intentions to use that technology. I think there's something like it's like a vril generator where they got these like large crystals coming into the center, wrapped around in like copper coil with like gold coil around it, with a larger crystal in the middle, and these harness the vril energy, the energy of the Earth's energy, and what it multiplies the Earth's energy, and then you can send it Wi-Fi to this village, Wi-Fi to that village, and power all your devices for free. They were saying Tutankhamun had one of these devices. There's written stories, records about Tutankhamun having one of these devices, the energy creating device. And that's what I think the Smithsonian wants to get to. They want to get to that device and then keep it from us because it's free energy. You know, the gas oil companies would go bankrupt. They don't want people having free energy devices sending Wi-Fi signals to power all your devices.
Yeah,
but like it's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. Give me a sec. I just have to go get something.
No worries.
So let's say, where's the camera back on?
Dalai Lama says sounds like the Vatican. It does sound like the Vatican, Dalai. It does.
Were you on when I was showing you all the serpent stuff that's at the Vatican? Why that,
Yep.
like, yeah,
Yep.
like
Yep.
I'm like
that's
super weird.
Like they
really.
say, how do I explain this? I don't know. They're talking bad about the Vatican now, saying this reptilian connection and how they're saying like the reptilians have been like controlling the Vatican and making them change things to help control the people. I'm Greek Orthodox.
See, we have Orthodox, no problem. We even have like Roman Orthodox sometimes that come and speak at our Protestant.
Yeah.
Most of it, everything's compatible. I don't even really see a difference. But when it comes to Catholicism, it's like it's not Christian. Like, sorry for anybody who's Catholic, but I'm talking about the institution. A lot of institutions now on Protestant side are corrupt too. But like, praying to Mary, all of these shrines stuff, these are all anti-biblical things, But yeah,
it's true. It's like the Vatican corrupted Jesus's teachings, because Jesus was a great person. I love Jesus. He was one of the best prophets, one of the best prophets of the world. He came and Jesus taught us, look, I don't want no priests. I don't want no service or sermons or religion. I just want you. Jesus taught us to just get together with your family and friends and have dinner together and enjoy God's feast, kind of a thing. Praise the feast of the God with family and friends. And Jesus tried to awaken us up and share truth with us. He was sharing what's going on, and they didn't like that, so they executed him. And then they realized everyone believed Jesus because he was sharing truths, and they were losing control of the people. So they had to. So what they've done is corrupted Jesus's teachings to keep that control on the people. If you know what I'm trying to, if you know what I'm saying there.
Well, Catholicism didn't allow the anybody to have the Bible. Even it was Martin Luther or close to that, where people with the printing press, stuff like that. So the Catholic they've always
hidden control. They've always hidden the knowledge. They've always hidden the knowledge. And like a Catholic priest can't have a wife, but then you got all these Catholic priests doing bad things to young boys, young children.
Yeah.
In a Greek Orthodox priest is allowed to have a wife. There's no records of Greek priests doing bad things to the young children. So I'm just like, why doesn't the Vatican allow their priests to have a wife? They wouldn't have this young children bad things happening problem.
Yeah, I think I think it's satanic to the core, the Vatican, and like look at Epstein. There's this underworld where the elites and stuff like that. The people that talk about I think it's adrenochrome. Torturing babies, drinking their blood because of the adrenaline that goes in from, and the Vatican, all the nations are basically in bed. This is like, how rich these people are and stuff like that.
The Vatican's one of the biggest religions.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's when you see there's 3 billion Christians, and it's like, yeah, how many are Catholic? I don't know. I've spoken to a lot of Catholics, and when I just bring up the some of the stuff, I'm like, well, why are you praying to Mary? Like, that doesn't make sense. And why are there even priests? Because it says Jesus is the only high priest, and a lot of things like that. I don't want to talk too much about religion because I don't want to insult somebody who's a Catholic or anything like that. Maybe I do a video.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Carefully express myself and stuff like that. But so your thoughts, let's say, like, what are your expectations? Okay, you believe there's aliens, right? Like, what are you expecting? And do you think like
my mom told me they're real. My mom told me they're real.
Yeah, well, that's it. No, but I want to hear. I want you to have the platform here to kind of say
Yeah.
like, I'm expecting in the coming years, or I'm expecting this. I think that the aliens are that. Like, what's your
Oh
idea?
yeah.
You know, because we all have a kind of
I
guess.
do, I do, I do. Yeah, I do a lot of research on aliens, ancient history, giants, all that. I love ancient history. One of my favorite subjects. Um, I'm the number one in China. I'm the number one foreigner for the UFO category on Bilibili. I'm just about to hit 2 million views. I don't even speak Chinese. I just speak English and put subtitles. But like, I upload my UFO videos like your brother Bruce does. I upload my UFO videos, my moon pictures, buildings on the moon, UFOs on the moon. And I've blown up in China, so I upload a lot of information I find interesting about aliens and giants and stuff. I upload it and share it with my Chinese audience.
Yeah.
And see, like I think our history. It's clear that our true human history has been hidden from us, and everything's been changed to hide the fact that we've had alien contact since we've been around. They say we could have been around up to like 3 million years ago. That's when we first sort of come to this earth. But all the archaeological evidence that points towards this, they hide it from us because they want that Darwinism evolution theory that explains everything. It doesn't explain a monkey turning into an ape, turning into a human.
Yeah,
it doesn't explain that. But people now coming out finding pieces of the puzzle, saying that, oh yeah, aliens created us, 3 million years ago, and have been influencing us. Yeah. No, hang on a second. I got someone calling me.
It's like Prometheus, the movie.
Just give me 1 sec. I got to turn streamer mode onto my Discord so people can't call me. There we go. I'm going to get yelled at now for hanging up on my girlfriend. Anyway, like a lot of information is coming out, and it's making people dig into the Bible and see the alien human connection in the stories of the Nephilim. They came, the giants. They're trying to say that Yahweh was not actually God, but Yahweh was Enlil, an Anunnaki military leader. That's the story they're coming up with now, that Yahweh is actually Enlil, because they don't in the Bible. When they're talking about Yahweh got upset with the humans and punished them and all this stuff. And they're like
a lot of Gnosticism believes.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying God isn't like that. God would not punish us because we done something wrong. They're trying to say God isn't evil like that to punish us for doing something wrong, mm-hmm. and that actually Yahweh is. They changed the name to Yahweh and then changed the Bible to like say that Yahweh was God, but actually Yahweh is the story of Enlil, one of Enlil and Enki were the two heads of the Anunnaki that came here and started enslaving us, building the pyramids and stuff, and digging gold and mining gold for them, and then playing with our genetics to downgrade our genetics by blending their DNA with our DNA, and then downgrading us so that we just stay like dumb little slaves and just mine the gold.
Yeah.
So that they were taking back to their planet. And they also say that there was a conflict between Enlil and Enki, because they were the two brothers that came to here, and the Anunnaki considered Earth as they own the Earth because they were the first ones here. And Enlil was half reptilian because his mother was reptilian and his father was Anunnaki, so he was half reptilian. And Enlil, and he was the military commander, and Enlil was like the scientist, the genetic scientist that was blending our genetics together. And he thought that when he started blending our genetics together with theirs and making the slave race to mine the gold, Enlil looked at our genetics and he was like, hang on a sec, there's other alien DNA inside us. And then Enlil realized that we were special. is that we have been our DNA has been being upgraded with other aliens' DNA before they got there for hundreds of thousands of years. And he thought, oh, these humans are special. We should not be downgrading them. We should be upgrading them because they contain something special that's not seen in other galaxies and other planets. All the different genetic codes from different beings that have tinkered with our genetics, trying to help us evolve, trying to help us survive. Mm. And so a war broke out between Enlil and Enki, and Enlil lost, and Enki won. Enki had got the shits with everyone on the earth, and Enki left the planet to escape, and Enlil got the shits with everyone and just like flooded the earth, and then left the planet after that. That's what they were calling. They were referencing to the biblical flood, Noah's Ark, and the biblical flood. Yeah. And like the Aztecs and the Incas in Peru, they all documented the flood, the great biblical flood, like to which proves that what the biblical flood that they speak about in the Bible did happen. It was an event that other cultures recorded in history. So like,
Anunnaki.
And yeah, so like it's very interesting when you look at the pieces of the puzzle, how like with our genetics have been tinkered with by the aliens. Like they're our creator, but even the aliens admit that there is a source, a God. You know how people talk about a God?
Yeah.
The aliens refer it to as source, the creator that lives in the void, and it's comprised of nine consciousnesses that create universes and stars and planets, and that would be like our interpretation of God, the source, the creator. Very, very, very. You see how the stories are very similar. Same descriptions for the same person, God.
Yeah.
They call it source, and it's like it sort of makes sense that, you know, they say we were originally created from a primate. They're saying that there was this little primate that looks like a small little monkey with a tail, not an actual monkey, but a type of primate.
Okay.
And that originally 3 million years ago, the aliens got this primate and put their genetics into it and created the humanoid version, humans, which would have been like cavemen back in the day. Yeah. And then as they started to, you know, then the aliens fly away, come back 1,000 years later. I wonder if these humans are still alive. Oh, look, they're still alive. They created life and it's still here. So they upgraded a little bit more and then wait for it to evolve couple thousand years and come back and forth. And over the 3 million years, we've had all sorts of different aliens coming in, doing a little scientific experiment, upgrade this, upgrade that, genetic this, DNA that.
Yeah.
And when scientists, you know how they can trace DNA lineages to see where stuff comes from. Interesting, when the scientists trace back our DNA lineage, it does go back to, like the Bible says, Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. The Adam and Eve story is true. And when that goes back to as far as they say that our lineage comes from this small primate creature that's a couple feet tall, just like these stories are saying. So it's like these stories do have science-backed factual evidence, which is very interesting, I'm finding. Mm-hmm. And how do I think about it? It's hard. It's hard when for thousands of years we've been lied to. Everything's been covered up, and we're being told aliens don't exist, UFOs don't exist. But hey, we take pictures of them every day. Like we know they're out there, and like we got ancient records going back about UFOs and stories about gods fighting in the sky in their warships and war horses in the sky. So like there's just too much evidence to prove that there's something there, but that's been hidden from us because I think it's just a form of control. They don't want us to know our true origins, because there's a saying, if you learn from the past, you can see the future. Mm-hmm. So like they don't want us to learn from our true past, because then we can see our future, where we're going, and then we would know this control system that they have on us to control us to money. You know how they've tried to enslave us to money, basically, the deep state and all of them. They've tried to enslave us to money. They call it Babylon magic money. It's not magic money. The dollar's not worth nothing. It's a piece of paper. But
we're all shaking our hands, agreeing that it's like monopoly money.
But when you look at but you look at gold, if you got a pile of gold, it's always gone up in price. Money is $100 is still $100. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah,
and so they've hidden all of this. They're controlling the universities, the sciences, the archaeologists. Any new archaeologist finds that paint a different picture to the story or narrative that they're trying to feed us. They lose all credibility. They don't get no more grants to do experiments or expeditions. Like, they've got the system locked down. So our education system is designed to make us dumb. We're supposed to remember something, dates and times, and this happened and that happened, and then 3 months later do a test. It's fine for 3 months later, but as growing up skills, you're not doing any cognitive learning. So in reality, you've spent all your life in school to remember some dates and numbers for 3 months for a test. Then you go out into the real world. You have not developed your cognitive skills, your ability to think in situations to solve a problem quickly or work together with other people to solve a problem. Your cognitive skills are downgraded, but they're doing that so that we do not evolve, do not get smarter, because the smarter you get, the more you learn about your history, the more you see that they've just enslaved us into this money system, like a type of prison planet, how they're saying now these days.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're definitely trying to dumb us down on.
Yeah, so it's hard to say some things without branching off and explaining where I'm coming from.
I'm trying to find while you're talking some. I had found it when I was talking with Bruce, some really good Mayan stuff like that. But this one here is definitely looks like
the Mayan king
stuff.
Yeah, the Mayan king, and he looks like he's sitting in some type of a transportation capsule or vehicle, or that could even be tic tac shaped. If you think if that creates an energy field around him, and that machine moves with the energy field like an ion field, ionic field with magnetics and stuff, that would be like tic tac shaped. Like
those tic tac, those flying things that the Navy, the Air Force.
That could be very similar to one of those tic tac shapes. I'm just saying the light that would be generated around the craft to propel it through the atmosphere.
I hear you.
And like today, a lot of people are waking up now. A lot of people are waking up to UFOs and aliens. Today, more people believe in UFOs and aliens than like 10 or 20 years ago, I'm finding. That's probably a lot to do with the internet. People can search information about aliens, look at videos, documentaries, pages and pages of information, people, interviews, talking. I think a lot of that's got to do with the information. 30 years ago, there was no internet, so no one knew how to look up information to learn stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's like even from my perspective and stuff like that. There, I go to church now, but it's really just like I'm not really learning anything. You do a 45-minute little thing, inspires the Christians. We're all we all believe the same thing. But all of this Nephilim and first book of Enoch and things like that, that Christians are like, it's everywhere now. Christians are talking about this, and it's interesting because it was a book
really
for a later generation.
Christians are talking about this now.
Oh yeah, man, it's everywhere.
Wow, wow.
So it's like
even Christians are waking up now. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Like I said, we have like more. We have more the angel rebellion aspect of it. But yeah, like you would never hear that, but because of the internet and stuff like that, and we're not just talking about like, oh, some guys make it like academics and stuff like that are really so it says in the end times knowledge will increase. And it's like everything, we're all looking at the same stuff that's happening. We're just, you know, taking all of that information and coming to possible different conclusions. Like, oh, interdimensional. I think it's interdimensional. I think it's intergalactic. But I think we can all agree that there's signs in the sky. There's stuff happening, and everyone kind of feels that there's something about to happen. You know, I don't know, like people feel it in their gut instinct, perhaps. But if I go, let's just write. Nah. Science. Let's see. So I just want to share screen this just to show you, like, it's not like just a few people. So here, you know, like you could just scroll and it's just one after another. And like, look, see the Bible. These are all like pretty much Christian sites and stuff, Grace Digital Network. And you just see all talking about Nephilim, about the book of Enoch, who were the Nephilim. So to me, it's like, it's pretty cool, you know, because at one point I had heard, well, you know, if aliens do arrive, the religions will have to will be shattered in a way. Like Christianity won't be able to survive an alien arrival. And I'm like, yeah, we would, because it fits completely in everything that we believe, but it's not your typical Sunday. You know, your typical Sunday stuff like that. There's
I've thought about that. It's what a lot of people are panicking about and they're scared of. I think most of the religions will just evolve with the alien information coming out, because they have so many people believing in them, and I really think they'll find a way to evolve with the alien information, because the Vatican had all the heads. The Pope had all the heads of the Vatican about a year ago, and he had a conference, and he's like, we want to be the ones to first tell the people that aliens exist. How can we tell the people that there are extraterrestrial beings in the universe? Because NASA they won't tell us anything.
Yeah. Like for me,
they're trying to address the problem. They're trying to address that problem I was seeing. It's very interesting.
Like for me, I don't think that Christianity would need to evolve, because what I'm saying is I am looking at all of the information and it's fitting in, you know, with the current theology of it. If you like with the first book of Enoch, that's being quoted, that was the start of my study, was look, Jude is in the New Testament is speaking of this. And then we have like the coming deception, right down to there's one passage that talks about there's 3 evil spirits like frogs. And if you look at the Greys really look amphibious. You know, they have very big eyes, like a lot of amphibians. Yep. Underdeveloped nose.
Reptilians. We got the reptilian lizard people. They sort of look like frogs with the green scaly skin. Yeah. Then we have the Dogon tribe in Africa. They said they were visited by fish people, which might be interpreted as a frog being. Fish people. I got something I can share. I got something I can share that you might find interesting. I'll find this.
Okay, share screen.
Present. Share screen. Okay. Share window. Just do screen 2.
I'll see it when it pops up.
Actually, I'll do screen 1, so I'm showing less information.
Just while perfect, I got it. There you go. It shows up.
Yeah. Okay. So this picture here is Saint Augustine, and it's claimed that this is the devil, and he's holding the Book of Vices to Saint Augustine. And I've always looked at this and thought about it, and I'm like, I feel like this is like a reptilian lizard alien, and he's like the devil. I'm trying to think of, like, the devil would not be showing the Book of Vices to the priest, the saint. that doesn't make sense to me. But like, I think that might be how the painter, because painting back then is like a photograph of history. So they're trying to show what happened through a painting, recording it. I think the painter said, "Oh yeah, it's just the devil showing the Book of Vices to Saint Augustine," but actually that's his excuse so that the church doesn't take his painting and burn it and get rid of him. I think he's like trying to say the lizard people back then did some sort of a contract with the Pope or the head of the church, the Vatican, and they're like, you got to change this in the Bible and change that in the Bible so that they don't know about our alien human contact that we've been having over our history, and change it, trying to change the story so that you have better control over the people. That's what I sort of think. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but that's what I sort of think that describes.
Most Christians think that the false prophet will be the Vatican. They're already, because I mean, look, if you're going to defend the Bible, and then you're going to say, oh well, if aliens do arrive, then we'll baptize them and stuff like that. Like, as far as the Vatican's concerned, they have completely, because they're doing the ecumenical movement, which is like all religions are the same, and stuff like that. And like, I mean, Christianity doesn't state that. It's like, in a way, it's a very arrogant claim. It's like, no, Jesus is the only way to salvation, and everything else is wrong. I mean, that's a statement. That's a pretty bold statement to make. And the Vatican is not defending that statement. They're saying, oh no. I mean, if you look at Islam says God does not have a son. Jesus was not crucified. Like, those religions are incompatible. We can live with people that we disagree with, but what I mean is the Vatican trying to just because they want power. So they're fine throwing all doctrines. They've done that a long time ago. They've walked away from Christianity probably almost from the beginning and stuff. Like, there's a reason why there was a protest and everyone stepped away, because they just adopted all paganism and stuff like that from the very start. But there's one thing that I can, like, look, in the Bible, when it comes to dragons and serpents, that's the bad guy of the book. And we just showed, like, before, like, hey, there's a whole room and building that's like a serpent. You got serpent in Jesus's hair. I mean, these guys are
it's like a clue. It's like little clues. They're saying the serpent is bad, the dragon is bad, serpent, dragon, reptilian. It's like they're trying to tell us the lizard people are bad and have been doing bad things to us all this time, but they're like leaving little clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Let me check this one.
Sure.
I might have to go soon. I'm going to check if my wife is arriving, then I'm going to have to cut it soon, because I don't want to be taking away from family time. Here, this one. So in Revelation 16:13, see, it says, then I saw three evil spirits that looked like frogs. They're not frogs. He goes, but John is describing, he doesn't know it. He's just seeing something and he's trying to describe it in his own words, So he's seeing a vision, and he's like, then I saw three evil spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast. Obviously, dragon, beast, these are not to be taken literally. This dragon that's flying around. This is a political system, and this is the beast system. So it comes out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet. I think that to a large extent is the Vatican. They are spirits of demons. They're performing, because they will, in Revelation, God allows them to perform signs and wonders. And they're fallen angels. They're advanced beings. They can certainly do signs and wonders, or the aliens, right? Demons performing miraculous signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for battle on the great day. What I wanted to focus on is evil spirits that look like frogs. Like, I find that because there's various aliens, and stuff like that. They have the Nordics that have blonde hair, blue eyes and stuff.
Yep, yeah,
like
different types.
these little guys, they do look like they look like evil spirit. Well, they look like frogs, what I mean. And that ties in well with the scripture. So it's not that the scripture here needs to evolve. It's that what I'm seeing is a lot of this activity that everyone is seeing. I'm seeing it actually fitting in what the Bible is saying, not having
I never thought about it like that. When you said frogs and greys, I'm like, this is something new. Then you show the picture. The frog looks like the grey. It looks just like him. It's like,
yeah. So there's some interesting stuff. Wait, I'm gonna see if my wife is here. And that's what I mean is like, it doesn't matter if I'm playing the angel card and you're playing the extra like alien. See, it's like we can still learn from each other. We can still pull stuff, and it's like, oh, I don't, wow, like, because you'll be able to. It's not changing your mind, but you'll be able to kind of like use that. It's part of your toolbox now, so that you can kind of remember and stuff like that. So I find that I'm learning a lot from people. From Bruce's channel and stuff. They're really open-minded, you guys too. I
found the two-headed giant. If you want me to share that picture, I found a picture of it.
Yeah, I'll go there. I'm gonna let LA on as well.
Yep.
Hey, LA.
G'day, LA.
She doesn't know she's on.
She doesn't know she's on. Don't pick your nose. LA, don't pick your nose right now.
she always has volume issues. I think I can hear you. Testing.
G'day, LA.
1, 2, 3. Say something, LA.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, yeah, I can hear you. I'm just gonna share screen what Gabber put up, and I'm gonna let you. I just have to go down after for a minute. I'm gonna let you.
I'm not sure.
No, I can hear you perfectly. It's good. Okay, add to stream there.
So this is the Patagonia two-headed giant I was talking about earlier. I can make the picture a bit bigger for us to have a look. So
I'm not sure.
So there we go. That's a picture of the two-headed giant that they had on display in Patagonia.
Wow.
And I think it had red. I'm pretty sure the story was that had two rows of teeth and red hair as well. And I think that had two. And there's another photo of it.
Hey, LA, turn off the original stream.
Yeah. He's another photo of it, and there's pictures of it. People were drawing pictures of it here. The two-headed giant, and it was the villagers all got together and captured it and then killed it because it was causing trouble.
Yeah. Well, they all end up being cannibals because of the amount of calories that they need.
Yeah, I mean, Patagonia cannibal over 12 foot high. Yeah.
Like you'd have to be eating how many thousands and thousands of calories.
So like it's very, very interesting, these giant stories. We've got a lot of evidence to prove that a lot of these stories about the Nephilim and the giants from the Bible were true stories. See, another picture. This person's much taller. Yeah, taller than the early explorers that started exploring these areas. There's so much written evidence, and they drew pictures. See, look at this. He drew a picture. Look how big they are. He's 5 foot, 6 foot. They're like 9, 10, 12 foot. Yeah. And these drawings are they're like the original photographs of the explorers. They would go to a new world. They would meet these giants and then sit there and draw them in their book and then bring the information back to America or England or Europe. Yeah. These should be considered like original photographs of what the first explorers met when they went in exploring the unknown continents that we hadn't explored yet. Yeah. I don't know if it's accurate, but you know how Native Americans
do like pow, like their
Yep.
high, this could be not true or something, but they used to do that to show that that they don't have 6 fingers because all of these giants and stuff like that, and
Yeah. I've heard about this. This is
It's true.
might possibly be true.
Maybe,
But like Bruce's UFO pictures and videos and buildings on the moon, that's really true. This
Yeah.
one's the next category down. Might possibly be true.
Yeah, exactly.
But like it's very interesting that they put because I've found pictures of giants with six bones, 6-finger bones, and the rows of 2 teeth, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 feet tall. I've seen the 6-finger skeletons.
Mhm.
Like that could be possible. I haven't got 6 fingers. Chill out. Don't don't get me.
LA, is your volume working? LA. I just got to go for a pee. I'll let you continue. You're already share
I can
screen.
hear you on my phone, but I can't hear you on my computer.
On the computer, no?
Oh, you know what? Sorry. My bad. Sorry, you know what?
What?
My goddamn mute button was on the laptop. I apologize.
Okay, good. I'll let you guys talk. I just have to go
Can
to
you
the
hear me
bathroom.
now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we can hear
There we
you.
go. Okay, we're here. I didn't notice the red light was on the mute actual button on the laptop. Sorry.
No problem.
Here, I
I'll
was
be
like,
back. I'll let you guys talk. I gotta go pee.
All right, you go.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was pushing all like the buttons to make sure it wasn't muted, but the actual
You still here,
button
Darla?
on the keyboard was muted. I apologize. So here's my question to Gabber.
Yeah.
Like, how do we differentiate, fiction from fact, and history, and word handed down? Just it's kind of like exactly with the Bible, the Torah, the Quran. Like, how much do you trust the written down, written word versus trusting fiction and propaganda? And yeah, like I guess that's my biggest question, honestly.
It's
Like, how much do you trust
it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to how do I say this? It's hard trying to figure out what's true and what information has been changed to control us. It's like you get bits and pieces of the puzzle. You get like bits and pieces of the puzzle, and like you like. I'm just showing Darla some of my moon stuff while I'm talking. She loves moon things.
As
So my moon photography, yeah.
And also, do you remember when Buzz Aldrin said, "Wait till they see that tower on Mars's moon"?
Yep.
Where will they think that came from, or who built that? Something like that. Remember that?
Yeah. The monolith.
On Mars's moon. Mm-hmm. And then Mars being, also suspected of nuclear energy, that big black stripe out, and then maybe now Elon and Jeff Bezos wanting to go back there. Like, what's all that about?
I think a lot of that is like they say we have like a secret space program, and we've already got like a moon base and Mars base, and I think Elon wants to go to Mars because there's crashed alien technology there, and that's like very, very valuable. And he wants to be the first to get to Mars, to go and explore Mars, to retrieve all the crashed alien technology that's scattered around there.
So here's a question.
He wants,
for you.
because that's very, very valuable.
How do you think he would have come across this information to think it's credible enough to build a company to actually want to go there and like pull this off? Like, again, with the sort of trusting all this stuff, like, it's incredible what one person, well, 2 now, I think Jeff Bezos is on that space race too, but then you got China, Russia, like everybody's trying to go. like, it's just very interesting to me how they find it credible enough to want to actually pull it off, you know?
Mhm.
Again, the fact versus fiction. Like, what do they know that we don't know?
I think they got access to like information that we don't have access to, basically. That's hidden from us. A lot of the black projects and a lot of that information, I think they would have access to bits and pieces, and they can see it. It would be in their best interest to like get to Mars to go exploring, because it would be very, very, very valuable, very valuable to build up their empire and build up their businesses.
Well, then that goes back to like what Jason's channel is about. It's like the dark and light thing I keep coming back to is like, to what end? To what end? Is it to save humanity? Is it to be, you know, like a Waco leader where you're gonna just blow up your people? Or like, it's just kind of like so bizarre that people actually act on all this. And is it fantasy? Is it real? Is it to be trusted? To what end? How much person can have that much control? It's kind of, I don't know. Like I've just always been fascinated about control and people. And again, their intentions, I guess.
Can I share?
It's very interesting.
I'm just going to pop up a pyramid. Okay. Keep on talking.
No worries.
I didn't want to disturb you guys.
I'm looking at my TV as well. That's all.
I was just showing Darla some moon stuff because she loves a lot of your brother's work. I was just showing her some of my moon things.
Oh, well,
that I've taken.
Keep it. I'll pop it back up. Your stuff.
No, don't worry. Show us this pyramid. Show us this pyramid. I'd like to see it too.
This is Kurt. I don't know if you had seen the one that Kurt did about the secret societies. I let him do, like, it wasn't a discussion. It was me shutting up and letting him show what he's learned. But this was one that he brought up, which was like pretty cool. I'm not sure if it was. I'm pretty sure it was this one. You know, kind of the hierarchies and stuff like that. You know, and it trickled down. I mean, like for the Bible, it's not a difficult thing. Like there's a clear narrative, who the creator is. You know, created the angels, created humans with free will. A rebellion occurred. Now we're in a fallen state. In the whole middle of the Bible is about how he is going to correct that corruption. And we have Eden, paradise at start, and then we have Eden, paradise at the end. And it's a choice. So because it's a choice, there's some that don't make it because they don't want to. That's pretty much, you know. So it says it's a battle, yes, against good and evil in realms that we don't see, but we do see it, you know, manifested physically in human history and stuff like that.
It's also kind of remind me of your keto channel, Jason.
What?
Down pyramid where, you know, like you turn those tables around and make
exactly.
The
damn carbs are here, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this many times. It's like the pyramid structure of the deep state, how they control all the different facets and how they control the corporations and the media to influence and education and universities and sciences and to control our opinion. Because if you can control our opinion, you've got a perfectly good little sort of a slave system to enslave us to the money system they've done.
And now I feel terrible that I put my daughter.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Darla.
Right? I put her through we put her through university, and then she's always been brilliant. She's above average, always since a baby. Now she's enslaved in the system, working for a big German company, right? And then I have my son, who's only 22 months younger than her. Who is, you know, went through school for chemistry and is
only one there
rebelling, right? He's like, I don't even know how to picture what my life is going to look like. I'm freaking out. And he's not doing so well mental healthily, but I feel more tied to him, let's say, because he's actually fucking questioning the narrative. Whereas my daughter always kind of just goes along with it to live, you know, yada yada, everything's fine, and I'm at the top of the heap.
It's because they're bombarding us with too much information, so much information and so many narratives that it drowns us and we don't know what the hell is going on. And that is purposeful.
I believe it because I'm watching it in my own children.
It creates anxiety.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, well,
Because if you have one foot, okay, in the known, and then you have another foot in the unknown, that's the best place, because there it's curiosity. You know, it's not the hamster wheel, because you're like an adventurer. But if you have both feet in the known, then you stagnate and you get depressed.
or
But
both in the unknown.
opposite, if you have both feet in the unknown, you have no foundation, and that creates a psychological state of anxiety and unknown. I see that in the hospital. Like, you know, it's, oh, you know, like they don't know what's going to happen because we're not explaining it correctly. But if you take the time to explain it, then there's less fear. So if you're not getting the information, and there's a way of not getting the information by giving you so much information, you can't triage through what's real or not. Even if you're smart, even if you're trying to use an eye of discernment, and so I mean, it's causing a controlled chaos, purposely us spinning around while they're making all these changes and stuff like that. That's kind of how I see it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the hospital. I did end up having to go to Emerge yesterday because I just couldn't freaking deal with it anymore. But I'm getting a diagnosis of PCOS. So I'm in a lot of pain. I've been in bed for 4 days, which is not like me. Even my boss is like, what the hell's going on? You can't come to work. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. But I'll figure that out. But it's funny. It's funny how you're right about that. Very balanced, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I see it with both my children. I'm fortunate. I'm so blessed. I have a girl and I have a boy, and they're close enough in age that like I don't see like a education gap or anything like this. They're so close. They're friends. And I just see like I could pass it off as, oh, girls are more social and boys are not, or my son is more scientific, my girl is more commerce. Like I could always pass these off, but I like you, Jason, my foot is in one of each, and I always do 50-50 with each, and I'm trying to make sure that they think I'm crazy, like honest to God. They probably do, like, Mom's just fucking crazy.
They'll never listen to their parents.
Well, especially at this age. They're 22 and 24, but my daughter did just give me my birthday card, and she's learned from me. She likes and does this for now her future friends and family. I always appreciated handwritten notes versus any material thing you could buy me. So she handwritten a note, thank you, Mom, you're always teaching me. So, you know, although they're annoyed with me, I'm sure it's all going in there in their brains. But this is real, that the younger generation has to be exposed to this stuff. And
there's Bruce's picture.
My problem as a mom is what's fiction and what's fact, and do your own research. And Jason, this goes to what you're saying. The Bible is so old, but then we have all this new coming information bombarding us. And now I have to, like, I've had 30 years, let's say, in my foot in both doors. And I want all this to be compressed into my 22, 24-year-olds to save them time when they don't even know whether they should trust or believe me, or like anxiety and all this shit. And I'll shut up now, but that's what's going on.
No, you don't need to shut up. It's very interesting what you had to say.
It's true. It's truthful for sure. My kids are, well, my son in particular, he's going through true anxiety. Well, COVID did a number on him too, but so there's that. And then the kids with the gaming and the addictions and testing that, and then less parents, both parents working. This is all my reality, my universe, and it doesn't matter what. I'll never be able to do enough. I'm sure all our parents went through this, or generations ago with war. What the fuck is war? What's the purpose? Money, blah blah blah.
Yeah, money, definitely. Yeah.
War is profit. They make fake excuses to go to war, then they feed both sides of the war, and they're profiting from us fighting for the wrong.
But if profit is
the wrong ideas, it's all about profit. The war has nothing to do with.
Profit gives you all the money, and we know that rich people are never happy. Let's go beyond profit. So in my mind, it's like it can't not just be about the gold, the money, the hiding, the stealing. It's power in my mind. It's power, but why? Like, does that give you gratification? And if that gives you gratification, then what's the purpose of that? You rule the world mentality, or or you want to be evil. Like, I don't understand what that ego part comes from, of like what you're trying to gratify.
That's
my biggest question.
You see, Jason?
Yeah.
Look, I got the same photos your brother's got. I just sit in my backyard, take photos of the moon. I'm like, what did I take a photo of? Bruce has got it too. Like, my work confirms your brother's work. So if anyone says bad about you, Bruce, go, nah, Gabber's got the same photos. Get out of here.
Yeah. The more people,
what is the one thing we think
that
is
can
in
show
that
the same
square?
thing, it's like peer review, you know. So it's good. It's good if other people can get the same content and stuff like that.
What's your opinion on that, Gabby, in the red square that I'm seeing? What do you think? Are you just looking at
this one
angles? Or?
Like this photo, it's got a 90 degree angle. So it's got lots of 90-degree angles. So wherever there's a 90-degree angle, that tells us it's not a natural object. It's something created it. Someone created that.
Can I question you on that? Isn't there somewhere in Scotland where there's those rock formations that are hectagonal?
Yeah. I've had other people tell me this, and like, if you look at the Earth and look at all the rocks and all the sand and all the trees and all the mountains, and then you got this little place in Scotland with a couple rocks. So like, those couple geometric rocks are like 0.001% of what naturally forms. But like,
there wasn't a couple. There was like quite a few.
There's like quite a few of them, but compared to all the geology around the world, it's like very, very low percentage that formed in nature. And that's why archaeologists, they look at satellite imagery over the Earth, and wherever they see 90-degree angles in the dirt, that's where they go digging. And that's how they find cities and ancient towns, just from 90-degree angles. It's how archaeologists find all the ancient dig sites, just by, there's a little corner here, a little corner there, a little corner there. Somebody must have built something there. They go digging and they'll find a city or a town. Or
it's a beginning point for sure.
Yeah,
it's not the end all and be all, in my opinion. But what about, like, do you guys ever have pictures of when you look underwater from high up with the satellites, how there appears to be like tracks and roads? What do you think about that, Gabby?
Well, they've found a lot of like pyramids and like Aztec type pyramids under the water. You can clearly see them. They've gone under with sonar and scanned them, and you can see roads and like stuff like you say. Even where they say where like Atlantis used to be, they say there's roads from Greece in the Mediterranean and Italy. There's all these roads that like go under the ocean, marble roads, proper marble roads and columns that go under the water all the way up to the Bahamas, Florida, out that area where they used to think Atlantis was. And
I thought it was near Portugal, but I could be wrong on that.
There's a lot of different places. There's just off the south of Japan. There's like well, they think it's the edge of Lemurian city. They found all these pyramids and stone structures and pathways and stuff. And the one in Portugal, the seawater, like hundreds of thousands of years ago, the seawater was like lower, so they built their buildings there. Then natural climate change, the ice melts, the water levels rise, and everything gets covered underwater. So they have to build up again onto the surface. It's just like, I just think it's just old civilizations buried underneath the ocean as the ocean levels rise and fall over time.
Well, so basically here's another question, because I'm also equally as fascinated with the moon and space. I'm equally fascinated with our own planet and the waters on our own planet.
Yeah. You cut out. You cut out there.
I muted her. No, I'm joking. I didn't.
I think she pressed the mute button on her touch phone by accident.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
I just wanted to share this one. That's from Google Earth and stuff.
Yeah.
It always looks really suspicious when Google Earth after like
that spiral in the desert areas. Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, they think maybe that's Atlantis.
It's possible. It's possible.
I guess
But
because of how it's shown that it's
Mm.
like circles, I guess, like this.
It just it
Like
could have
this,
another it
supposedly?
could have another explanation. It quite
Yeah.
possibly could be Atlantis. A lot of people say Atlantis was like somewhere in the Bahamas because the Greek Homer wrote about Atlantis,
Yeah.
described the city, described the people, and he said it was left of Hercules' Pillar. And where Hercules' Pillar is to the left of the Mediterranean islands and stuff, to the left of
Yeah.
that is like Bahamas and off the coast of Florida, Bermuda Triangle, all that area.
Yeah. I'll show you more. Hey, did you ever see my presentation, or have you ever heard of the Shroud of Turin?
Yep. I've heard of the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that I had seen that kind of made me like scratch my head, because science cannot replicate that image with any technology, and the image is only 1/10 of each fiber. It doesn't even penetrate through one of the fibers of the linen. And I had seen, let me show you, DNA from a PubMed. So DNA as a source of biophoton emissions. Here, let me check. So you have here, go here. So it's cool because the thing is basically looks like a photo negative that was imprinted on a linen cloth on a shroud and stuff. And
Yep.
on PubMed here, it says, like biophoton. So basically biological light emissions, new evidence for coherence of DNA as a source. So the phenomenon of ultra weak photon emission from living systems was further investigated in order to elucidate the physical properties of this radiation as its possible source. It kind of explains why there's auras around us too. But
Yep.
I using my imagination. Sorry, I wasn't sharing it. Biophoton emissions here. So like the image that got imprinted of a man that happens to have every single wound that the guy in the gospel has, Jesus.
Yep.
That was one like a big thing that kind of like added to my interest of taking the gospel a lot more like historical, a lot more less mythological. That when I was not a believer, it was kind of, that was a big chunk of going, whoa man, like they have degraded DNA that doesn't prove anything because it was handled by a lot of people, but
Yep.
there's blood and there's bilirubin, there's creatinine. It is an image that they can't explain. They've estimated the amount of energy that would be required. And I was like, well, if DNA, we all have a slight emission of light at, certain, the frequency of light is very narrow that we can see, but there's, you see, so I imagine like that during a resurrection, the biophoton emissions that all our bodies have could have been this one intense thing, enough to do this almost like an X-ray image on the shroud. And yeah, anyways, the image, I don't know if LA, it's more for LA because she's had some questions about that. Let me, I'll stop.
I remember when the Turon first came out, I was like, oh look, they got Jesus's face on the cloth. I'm like, Jesus is real. He must be real. I was excited when I first saw that.
Well, they screwed up the carbon dating was taken from an area of the shroud, and this is proven, that was a medieval repair because it was unraveling, and so they've done more tests, and it dates to the first century AD. But you never hear that because, again, anything that will give validity to this, it's like, well, no, they're going to end up hiding it, which is kind of annoying that they do that.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
LA, is your volume working?
Muted. We can't hear you, LA. We can't hear you. Did you click on the mute button in StreamYard? Did you accidentally click on the mute button in StreamYard?
Everything, yeah.
We got technical difficulties here, folks. The Vatican shut us down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Vatican shut us down.
Yeah, I did. If you look at the image of God, I think it was I'm not sure if it was a live stream that I did.
Yeah.
But
Shroud of Turin.
They show that when they use like a technology to analyze it and stuff like that, it's definitely has three-dimensional qualities to it. In reality, it hardly shows up. It's actually when a picture is taken, the photo negative is actually what really shows up.
Wow, look at the detail. And they use X-ray and infrared. Like me and Bruce use infrared cameras. They use the X-ray and the infrared cameras to like see different see different parts of the Turin. That's amazing.
Thing. Yeah, and like look at all these lash marks. The guy, because he was flogged, and the flagrum has usually, let's say, 3 leather straps with 2 metal pellets on each. So even if you're flogged, like I think it was 69 times, it's like multiply that by 6 or something, So he has over 300. And what's interesting is if you see what shows up more white is actually blood marks. You can see here how it goes up, so it makes sense that
the blood would have stained the Turin and then like slowly over time burned the image onto the Turin. Wow.
Well, what they say is the image. They said the image. They said the blood is there before and penetrates through the linen, and the image happened after. I mean, fancy science stuff, to figure that out, I guess. And the other thing is it's between the radial and the ulnar bone. A lot of depictions put it in the palm, which is unrealistic because it would rip right through your flesh if it was in your actual hand.
No, it's gonna be in your wrist. It's gonna be in your wrist, isn't it?
Then let's say this medieval forger, if you notice, there's no thumbs. You can't see his thumbs. And then after I show that during when you sever the ulnar nerve, your thumb will automatically
close over. Yeah, it's a nerve impulse. When you sever the nerve, just gone.
And it's excruciating. But it says the Shroud of Turin is covered by well-dispersed creatinine, ferret. These are all blood products and stuff like that. The bond between the iron core of ferritin and creatinine on a large scale occurs in bodies after severe polytrauma. And I'm just going through this fast there. This was their conclusion in 1981. The team's conclusion, published in 1981, was that the Shroud's origins were beyond the understanding of science. There are no chemical or physical methods known which can account for the totality of the image, nor can any combination of physical, chemical, biological, or medical circumstances explain the image adequately. So that's the conclusion. At the time, the researchers ruled out the use of any type of pigment in creating the image, and wrote that they found evidence of real blood on the shroud. This guy was part of this is him. He's made not a YouTube. He's all over YouTube doing lectures and stuff on it.
He's a Swatch. He's a Swatch. He's one of you guys. That's your uncle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going through it quickly though. Just like waste too much time.
It's really cool. It's really cool. They can't figure out how the image imprinted onto the shroud. They can't figure it out. It's like a miracle,
Yeah, and it says new experiments date the Shroud of Turin to the 1st century AD. They comprise 3 tests, 2 chemical and 1 mechanical. The chemical tests are done with Fourier transform infrared spectrometry and Raman spectrometry, examining the relationship between blah, blah, blah. Anyways, fancy words means it must be right. See, these are the flagrums that they used. And this is kind of, again, like a highlighting all of the marks on his back. I kind of tie it in.
Poor Jesus. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah. I tie it in with Bible passages, but it gets even crazier. see, this is what they're talking about. You don't see his thumbs. You can only count his fingers, and then they show that this is what happens when you sever the nerve. The thumb goes inwards. So I mean, this thing is, even if it was a medieval forger, and look, you know, if he was on the cross, the blood would be leaking down his arms, right? So this is post-mortem, but gravity shows that as well. And this is what's interesting over here. It's like the blood on the shroud is real. It's human and male blood of AB type. And the reason that it remains red is because of bilirubin. So it says the chemist, blah, 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 these guys found a high concentration of pigment bilirubin, and it consists with someone dying under great stress or trauma.
Right. So if you're under heaps of great stress, the pigment bilirubin increases.
Yeah, exactly. And then after here, I said severe trauma. Other research has noted the interaction between creatinine and ferritin in fatal accidents or a consequence of rhabdomyolysis due to torture. So this is what happens is from the flagrum smashing, you know, hitting him, all his muscles, because he the front of him, all his legs, the back of his leg, the back of, you know, were hit. That's tremendous muscle damage, and then it's like secretes all sorts of byproducts from the busted muscles, which poisons you. So rhabdomyolysis is a complex medical condition involving the rapid dissolution of damaged or injured skeletal muscle. This disruption of skeletal muscle integrity leads to the direct release of intracellular muscle components, including myoglobin, creatinine kinase, a bunch, as well as electrolyte imbalances into the bloodstream and extracellular. So everything's intracellular, now it's all busted out. So people that do marathons can get rhabdomyolysis just because they rip their muscles, or over kilometers, and it can lead to acute renal failure. So the flogging was so severe that's why he didn't last too long on the cross. Here's examples of rhabdomyolysis images.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you can see again. See, this is just for dramatic effect. That's from it, but but when you listen to it, it says, "By his stripes we are healed." But that's Isaiah 53. That's 500 years before Jesus arrived. That's where the Christians get this idea of him dying for their sins. That's not new Christian idea. That's from Isaiah. And then if you look at here, this is the matzah for Passover. And the bread, first of all, symbolically doesn't raise because there's no yeast, because the Jews symbolized yeast as a sin. It puffs up. So for some reason, God in the Old Testament tells them exactly how to make the bread without yeast, because it represents the body of Christ without sin. And then it's scourged. It would purposely, they were told to prick with a fork. That way it made sure it didn't rise, but it's actually also represents exactly what happened to Jesus. And they said to purposely scorch it. And that's kind of like what rhabdomyolysis looked like. So there's a lot of like weird stuff that like convinced me. There is. And
very interesting.
This is one. So yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And there's literally a syndrome called crush syndrome in severe trauma. I'm pretty proud of this presentation, but this is where you end up getting the traditional look of Jesus in movies and stuff like that, is actually directly from the Shroud of Turin. And it wasn't, they said, it wasn't what is depicted very often, like a halo. It was actually on top. And here, I'll try and rush through. This is
crown of thorns.
This is like proof of how they used to crucify through the ankles. They found like this in Jesus is there, but this is on the shroud. You can see again here all the white that shows up as trauma.
Coming out from the ankle.
Yeah, and there's pollen that is native just to Jerusalem in there. And a lot of people don't know that there is a covering, and this is a covering that matches the stains on the shroud. They call it the sudarium of Oviedo. It's just where it's like Turin. That's where it's housed, so they call it. So there's two different artifacts that actually match up. So you got the shroud, but when they found the sudarium, it matches exactly with the shroud. So that gives it a lot more evidence too. And then this is where I got the idea that, well, it's not so far-fetched that if me and you and everybody else and all living systems emit light, that possibly that during the resurrection, this intense light is what put that image on 1/10 of the cloth. Shroud of Turin, and this is like PubMed. I was like,
that's really interesting, because as he's being resurrected and the spirits coming out of the body, the light has to pass through the shroud, which imprints like an astral photography, what they call spirit photography. The shroud and all the blood and everything has imprinted his spirit as he leaves the body to become resurrected for 3 days. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm just going through it fast, but it goes through. And like, this is cool, eh? You know, like he was crucified, crucified on Golgotha.
Yeah.
Have you ever read that one?
Yep,
that is literally still there. Jerusalem and stuff. They take people on tours, and this is the place of the skull. That so
Skull Cave.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Pretty much all I have to show there.
You've done some good research there. I really like your presentation. It's really good.
Yeah, no, I take my PowerPoint seriously.
I take my PowerPoint seriously.
It's funny.
I learned how to do PowerPoint. I've got PowerPoint on my computer, but I've never used it.
Well, because at my hospital, I'm the clinical coordinator, so I do continuing education, and I had no idea how to use it. But now, like, people laugh at me. All my presentations are usually that. Oh,
yeah.
Hey, I've been looking for the. Anyways, I'll let you go. My wife is here, so.
No worries. Good luck, mate. Thanks for having a chat.
All right, man. All right.
Great learning from you. See you, buddy.
Yeah.
See you, everyone. See you, Darla.
Right,
love you, Darla.
All right.
See you, mate.